It's definitely been a minute since we recorded one of these, but we're back with episode. I think we're back. We're just here with episode 10 of Any Manga Heads. I'm here. It's the what is it look like? Call it the trifecta of awesome. You just here. It's me, Simmy, and Vince. You already know. Say what up to the people.
Mini Master! Nipa!
And
Me!
we got some good topics for y'all today. Cause it's been a while. I've been a little bit disconnected from the community, so I hadn't really been thinking about this stuff and having these strong opinions. But
Same.
you see enough bad Twitter takes, and you gotta let it out somewhere. So this is the spot for me to let it out. I'm not doing it on the TL because you guys are crazy. Anywho, anything you guys are watching, reading right now, worth mentioning? Excited for anything upcoming? I don't know.
Well,
You said well.
and I know. So,
You said well. I cut out because this is a long pause. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I said, me and Vince are simultaneously playing the Higurashi visual novel, and yes, that is a part of the whole manga medium, so don't start crying. That's not necessarily new, this game came out in like 2002, so it's whatever. We're both enjoying ourselves with that. It's fire. Watching, we ain't watching shit. Sorry. Looking towards anything, we ain't looking towards anything new. Sorry.
Yeah, not particularly. I mean, I'll probably watch the first episode JJK with my girlfriend, so I can get her to watch it, and then if she like it, then I'll watch it. But if not really.
Yeah, I watched. Actually watched some anime, guys. I watched some anime episodes. I even watched the episode of One Piece from start to finish in one sitting. So that's my.
Let's go.
But yeah, I actually watched the first episode of Juju on the Beat. It was good. So I get like the excitement. I had read like a couple of chapters like way back when they first got this hype. Before, when they were bullying the animators, not the animators, the translators, the scanlators, like, you should not be focusing on this series when Jujutsu Kaisen has 2 chapters. You know what they were? Come on, dog. Like,
I remember perfectly, boy.
yeah, when that initial hype came out, I had to read a couple chapters. I didn't retain anything, so I might as well had been watching episode 1 for the first time, and it was cool. I like it. I get it. I watched the first episode of season 3 of I watched Golden Kamuy season 3 episode 1. I'm a Golden Kamuy fan. I watch it with my friend all the time, so we watched that. And I definitely downloaded Noblesse to watch.
I forgot that came out.
We're gonna talk about these webtoon adaptations later, but I've already done this song and dance with this particular series already, so hopefully it's better. But there's a part of me that's just like, I'm kind of scared to start it, so I haven't started it yet. But other than that, nah, I watch as Simmy calls them, dinghy. I've been watching that, and then every once in a while, I'll find something to watch, like a Danhua, or if not, I'm probably gaming or reading some comics or something, or something on financial literacy, foreign politics. I haven't been really on my fiction like that recently. But all right, if Vince or Simmy don't have anything to add about anything you've been reading that's worth mentioning, we can start on our critically acclaimed manga and how they hold up on average. But first, explain to the people what a critically acclaimed anime and manga is in your guys' definition.
Well, a critically acclaimed anime is the epitome of hype beast. It's those fucking, it's a handful, or at this point, bucket full of anime that everybody who thinks they're a fucking scholar stands and say that they're objectively good.
Mushishi.
So anime like that. So in layman's terms, anime that usually have a rating of 8.0 or higher on that very cursed site known as My Anime List.
We might have to bring back Is My Anime List Credible?
That was a good video.
That was a good one, right? I forgot about that. We'll do that again. Or Credit List, or whatever it was. I don't remember the video name. But yeah, what else? Is there more stuff?
Nah, for the most part, it's just those handful of anime that, since My Anime List has become mainstream of sorts, or rather, it's a site that almost every anime fan on the internet knows. So that's kind of like, I don't want to say freaking Hall of Fame, but if you have a high rating on there, then you made it, quote unquote, to English speaking fans. All right, so any anime on there that has an 8.0, freaking 9.0 or higher, then yeah, that's what you would call critically acclaimed. I say that because Mal also has pretty much the largest fan base, sort of. Like you will see different opinions based on what platform you're on, but those are really minorities. Loud minorities on top of that. When you go on Mal, that's the be all end all because you can vote and rate things. I'm pretty sure you could even rate things without an account. So those ratings they're off of thousands upon thousands of votes and whatnot. So all those fucking anime that have 8.0 and higher rating, critically acclaimed. I mean, hell, freaking, there's actually official anime critics. People who get paid to do that sort of things, but they're gone by the wayside. Because nobody reads magazines anymore. So as long as we're worried about it, those guys out of a job, and the only people that matter are the weirdo folks who vote shit on fucking Mal. But I'm talking in circles now.
Well, can you explain to the people, or you guys can talk about some of the critically acclaimed manga or anime you've experienced and how they hold up, and what do you think about
Well, we've watched quite a few over the months. Off the top of my head, I hope I remember everything. The anime that we watched that got an 8.0 or higher rating includes Bunny Girl Senpai and its movie, Bacano, One Out, Space Dandy, Darker Than Black, Season 1 of Golden Kamuy, Kaiji, and High Score Girl. Anything else just barely hit the mark. So ID Invaded got like 7.9 something, I think. But those are the few that we've watched. And for the most part, that was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed more than I disliked. Say,
okay.
in my opinion, Bacano was the weakest that we watched, and I didn't care at all for Bunny Girl Senpai. It wasn't a bad anime per se, just it's a Monogatari clone. But it's a Monogatari clone minus all the raw shit that made Monogatari raw. So imagine Monogatari, but without the fucking fights, without the supernatural, without the folklore, and all of that good stuff, right?
I mean, I could take that a step further. Like, does that even hit if Nishio Ishin is not the one writing it? Because that man's a master of the Japanese language. Like, I love his dialogue. I like how he writes in general. So like, you're not emulating that. So I don't want a poor man's Monogatari. So what's that called? Bunny Girl Senpai? I'm good on that.
Yeah, so
Don't
basically,
you ever recommend me that shit in your sorry ass life?
so
Don't
basically
you
what
fucking do it?
so what I mean when I say Monogatari clone is, for those who don't know, Monogatari, in the most basic of sense, is about a high school boy helping high school girls or just girls around him and their problems, right? Monogatari came out in, what was it?
2005. I want to say the first like. Oh, sorry, talking about anime or
No, the light novel,
I want to say 2005. I'll check.
Yeah, so it came out mid 2000s, right? So this is pretty much, now you could go ahead and correct me, but this is pretty much the quote unquote first light novel to do this, or rather the one to popularize this format, right? So any other light novel that does this, you could pretty much more or less consider it a Monogatari clone, because it's the same exact fucking thing. And Bunny Girl Senpai is pretty much that. It's about this high school boy helping high school girls and other girls around him and their fucking problems.
Got it. August 10, 2015, 2005. Wow.
Yeah, and Bunny Girl Senpai came out, the first volume came out 2010, I believe. So, yeah. I didn't care for this anime at all. Like, it was cool. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it was bad. I would rate it a 7. I would most definitely not rate it anything higher than 7. Not even a 7.1 or 7.2 or 7.0 or nah. Flat 7. And it barely got that 7 too. 8 and 9? Absolutely not.
Would you say it's one of those things like if you just kind of take it at face value, like, no, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. I've just seen this done better.
Exactly. Pretty much
That's what
exactly.
that's pretty much where we
Okay.
me and him are different because I've never watched Monogatari or even Haruhi or any of that. So I gave it an 8. There was definitely like problems and everything wasn't perfect, and sometimes it could be a little boring. But overall, I liked it.
What's the best one you guys watched? Sorry, say what you're gonna say first, and then you guys said after.
Yeah, I would say that, for people who this is their first time seeing something like that, they'll like it. I would also say that for people who like strictly slice of life, so there isn't any physical conflict, so to speak, at all. It's literally just school students doing shit. They would like it more. For the people who know me, y'all know I don't like slice of life at all. I'm not a fan of slice of life like that. I like slice of life elements. I like there to be slice of life elements in a story that present in a story, but strictly slice of life, nah, it's not for me, right? So you could say that that bias is affecting my rating on it, but yeah, it was whatever to me.
Yeah, but we don't do the object, like that's not a thing. Like we don't
Yeah, absolutely not.
That's like, I mean, for anyone who does that and goes about it that way, more power to you. I don't think that way, because I don't think you can actually be truly objective in some situations. Everything that you think about something, whether it's in your opinion or not, whether you think it's a fact, it comes from somewhere. Your upbringing, how you're socialized. You're gonna think a certain type of way. Like what I value in a story might not be what you value, and it's fine. We're different people. It's okay. You'll be all right. But yeah. What do you guys? So you said Bacano to you guys was the worst one. Now I like the Bacano anime a lot. I thought it was dope as hell. I don't think it holds a candle to the light novel, but I liked it. So what do you guys say?
It's not that it was like, because none of these that we watched were bad. Mm-hmm. It's just out of the things that we watched, it was probably the worst one.
Okay, that's fair.
No.
Would you say this didn't live up to the hype you've been hearing about it for so many? Like, not that
it's
bad.
Absolutely.
Because like that doesn't mean it's bad just because it didn't live up to expectations that been built up over many years. Because you probably heard all kind of things about it for a long time.
Right, exactly. That's basically what we're saying.
There's certain series like that, because I imagine the day I finally cave in. What's that one series people have been trying to watch for like a couple of years? I've seen a bit of it. Damn it! Is it not? I know. Okay, I'm gonna butcher it. Something Stray Dogs. I know that's something people have been watching.
Oh, Bungo Stray Dogs.
Bungo Stray Dogs.
Yeah. Bungalow Stray Dogs. I knew it was wrong, so I didn't want to say it. There's no L in there, so I'm butchering something. But yeah. That's one of those ones where I imagine if I eventually cave in to watch it, I'll be like, oh, it wasn't bad, but like, was it so good that I had to drop what I was doing and watch it? Like the moment people have been bothering me to watch it, some things aren't that good, man. You get to it when you get to it. But yeah, best one you guys watched, you'd say.
Well, actually, I didn't even get to answer the question why we thought. Yeah, freaking, because Bacano, it was weird because. For the starters, I think the weakest aspect of the story, well, the story that the anime adapted anyways, was all of the mafia aspects. Japanese folk cannot write a fucking mafia story at all. Like, at all. Like, this shit was piss poor, man. Like, bro. The mafia is one of the most powerful organized crime syndicates out. They're very sophisticated. They don't go around doing things that, street gangs do. In this anime, you have mafioso who freaking speaking butchered ass Japanese, acting mad hoodlum-ish, shooting up freaking. Now, the whole shooting up stores thing. Did that actually happen in the 30s and 20s with American Mafia? Absolutely. But that's something that happened at the peak of conflict or when there was a flat-out war.
Yeah, they were just doing it. They were just doing it for everything.
These men pulled up to a library, shot it up, and they wasn't even trying to kill a freaking a Don or anything like that. Just his affiliate. Like, bro, that they don't work that way. Okay. All the mafia parts was super weak. I would say that was the weakest part of the anime. It did not come off as even as your basic crime story like standard. It was super weak. I would say it was flat out bad.
All right.
Now the rest, I thought it was fine. The characters, they are fine. The most interesting part was the backstory. I think it was, when was it? Was it 17? It was 17 something, I think.
I can't remember shit, but
Pretty much basically when all of the immortals became immortal, right? So
Yeah.
when all those guys are on the boat way back when, and that they evoked whatever the hell they fucking evoked, like the fucking devil or some shit like that, and he gave them the fucking recipe to for immortality and shit, right? And they basically became Highlanders. That was the most interesting aspect in the anime for me. And then the rest, the whole train gimmick was fine. I think, I don't know, man, because I had this conversation before with Siamese, but I feel like whenever you have a author or just content creator in general, and they have a long list of series, I feel like they usually perfect their format, their craft, if you will, by the time of their second series. And their first series is kind of sloppy-ish, so to say, compared to the
it's like
rest.
prototype in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so I could see the prototype to Durara, right? So the switching back and forth.
Ah, okay. You touched on something I was gonna talk about, but keep going.
Yeah, the switching back and forth between time periods, because the story takes place between like 4 time periods, like 1980 to like 1984, something like that, and then a bunch of different characters who seemingly have nothing to do with each other all conjugate into finally having something to do with every single last one of each other.
Yeah.
So I see that, right? But it wasn't as interesting as Durara was. So I could see the prototype there, but it was kind of falling flat. I didn't have an issue with the characters, but I wasn't really invested either. The whole train arc was cool. The few fight scenes that we got were cool. Like, the animation is fine. The art was fine. The animation was fire. Music was cool, but the story itself was okay. I was expecting more. I was expecting to be like hype. I was expecting to be invested. I was more so just trying to focus on keeping a track of the plot of the series. It's just constantly jumping between years than actually being invested.
Okay, I feel that. Benji, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. So for me, yeah, definitely, I've always heard about this anime. Same with Simmy, I think we've been trying to watch it for years, and basically we were just like, oh well, let's just watch it now. And he told me it's like the predecessor to Durara and all that. For me, it was just like some of the times I got bored and I really didn't care. And then some of the characters, it was just like, especially a little bit later, I felt like I should have known more about them. And I was trying, and then the whole thing is you kind of just trying to figure out, how they all relate to one another and stuff like that. So it was just kind of like, for me, it just kind of ended kind of just like, all right, cool. Like it like I said, it was a cool anime, but it was just like, it wasn't nothing for me to be like, 8, 9, 10. It was just like I didn't have no personal investment into these characters like that to have that, or the story. Even the story, I didn't have a giant personal investment in that either. So yeah, it was cool though.
I would ask you this one question, Simmy, just because you thought of something I think is interesting. Because I feel like, would you say like when it comes to mafia stuff, you're kind of a purist? Like, you like your mafia stuff one way?
That's actually a very good question.
I'll kind of expand the reason why I'm asking you that. I know people like this. When it comes to like werewolves and vampires, they don't want any weird shit like you glitter in the sun. You burn in the light, you get staked, they don't want no weird shit when it comes to vampires. I'm that way with Vikings. Which is why I don't like Villain Saga. I don't want to see this nigga. I'm gonna like, no, you're a Viking. Pillage, kill, do I'm not trying to see the other side, or I want to I don't care about that when it comes to Viking. I'm not interested in seeing it ever, not one time. So I was gonna ask you that when it comes to your mafia related stuff, are you someone like that?
That's a really good question, because now as you say it, the only 2 series that I experienced that deviated from how the mafia actually operated was Reborn and this, right? So I don't even know if I've seen enough to say point blank, I'm a purist. But to give you a flat out answer, I would say, yeah, probably, because I remember watching a documentary about mafia family in I believe it was Chicago, and I was so fucking interested. I was just flipping through the channels and I found it. I don't even remember what channel it was on. It might have been on E, and I just watched that whole thing in one fucking sitting, and it was so fire. And then again with the mafia games, the entire trilogy, like, crime stories like that is so raw to me, and I feel like, following shit like that, and I feel like there's a way to implement that other side, because the mafia games, especially 1 and 2, perfectly hit that other side of, there's more to the people in these organized crime than just freaking killing and making a lot of money. They're still human beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like when Japanese folk try to make stories like that, they don't really hit home about it. I'm going to further elaborate on that theory once we hit the topic later about what. Yeah. So I'm keep my mouth shut on that. But to give you a point blank answer, I would say, yeah, I'm probably a purist when it comes to crime stories, organized crime stories, mafia.
Oh, you know what? We probably got to watch 91 Days then, because that's a little bit different. All right, we should probably get you to watch that, and then after that.
All right, I'm with it.
Because that's probably like the closest thing I can say to like
finish it. So I mean, I'm in.
Well, I just say that's probably like the closest thing I've seen to something close to like American mafia. It still wasn't, but like that's the closest I've seen to it being done well, I guess you could say. I
just thought when he brought it up, it was interesting because I'm like, I like if he's a purist, I get that because I'm like that with like I almost was with Pirates until I got Pirates of the Caribbean and I was okay with it, and then I realized okay, maybe not so much for Pirates in general, and I was already a One Piece fan by then.
Because like the funny thing is like Reborn is one of my favorite manga of all time.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite series of all time.
It's a mafia theme, but we don't really come at it with that mafia, like
yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. It's a gimmick. Yeah. They're not really mafioso. It's just a gimmick.
It's a skin, bro.
Yeah. So just to hook you into anime, but with mafioso, right? Yeah. So it's just a gimmick. So it's kind of hard for me to say, but I would say majority, that I would probably be considered a purist when it comes to this.
All right, that's what's up. That's interesting. That's funny because like I definitely like specifically with werewolves and vampires. I know a lot of people who's like, nah, I don't care about that's not a thing. That's not a thing. We don't do that. So I was like, all right, you got it. But I would say we've seen an increased usage of CGI in anime. And I wanted to know your thoughts and opinions about it because I see so many mixed views on it. I'm with this, for me, it's as simple as I go case by case. Like, for me, the first thing I really watched with like a heavy emphasis on this type of like CGI was probably Saint Seiya, Knights of the Sanctuary. Legend of Sanctuary, the movie, right? And I thought it was beautiful. Even the Captain Harlock one, Space Harlock, that was dope too, right? I thought that was really well done. Like, so like I see a lot of the times when I see, I'm like, yeah, it's really good. And sometimes like the Berserk movie trilogy, where they use it at certain times, but usually they have the kind of more traditional key animation. Yeah, for me it's case by case, but there's times where I see it and it just looks really rough. But I think they're getting better overall, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But how you guys feel about it?
In my opinion, I'm gonna go first, Vince, because I got a lot to say. Fuck it.
Got you.
In my opinion, it's god fucking awful. Oof. And it's not just with anime either.
Okay.
It's with all of their stuff. So pretty much, like, it goes into anything that they do with fucking 3D graphics. As an example, if you're playing a Japanese game, right, and it's not developed by Square Enix or Koei Tecmo, it's gonna look like fucking ass. Point blank, period. It's gonna look like something that's really fucking dated. And even their best of the best stuff, like, for example, Nier Automata. Automata looks absolutely fantastic, don't get me wrong. I love the way that game looks. It still does not look up to snuff to its peers, though, of games that came out in that year.
Okay.
Like, fucking...
From top to bottom.
Yeah, so like Automata came out in 2018, 18, I think, in the US.
I want to say 17, but I'll look it up. Just keep talking.
No, yeah, I think 17 was when it came out in Japan, and then we got it a year later in like 2018. I think. I can't fucking remember, but by then, The Witcher 3 was already out, been out. You see how that game looks.
2017, a day before my birthday. Interesting. Continue.
Doom 2016 was out. Wolfenstein, the remake, so the Old Blood was already out. We have a lot of freaking games. Uncharted, was Uncharted 4 out? I think it was.
I don't know.
You got a lot of games when you compare it to AAA games that came out the same year or years before. It still looks dated, right? So then that's from the best of the best. Oh, I should throw in Capcom too, but yeah. Any other than that,
relatively small video game company though. I read that somewhere.
It looks ridiculously dated to almost point blank awful. Right. I don't have to turn my attention to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but I'm getting off topic, right? So
trash.
That's one of the worst games I've ever seen in the modern year. Graphics wise,
I've played in the last 3 years, 5 years. Oh my god, I'm a model, and I like Xenoblade games. But anyways, keep going.
Yeah. So I'm getting off topic. Freaking, I feel like they only go hard with CG when it's a movie, right?
Okay.
When it's a movie, or it's a movie that's made by freaking, when it's a movie that has like a stacked staff, when it's a movie being produced by a popular company, what have you, that's when they go off. In anime, it's horrendous. I think my first, it probably wasn't even my first, but the first memory that comes up to my mind when my experience with CG in anime was Blast Racer. That shit's fucking ugly. That shit is hideous. I fucking hate that shit, man. That shit ugly, boy. Ooh, Jesus. I only took 3 second look at that. I took it off and I never looked back, man. That shit ugly. And then, with the increased usage of it in the modern years, it's horrendous, man.
I feel like they're trying to master it, but you don't have the time to do it with an episodic series like that when you constantly have to pump something out every week. I like for a movie, you have your pre-production schedule, whatever. But like the movie's gonna have a set time in a sense where it's like the movie's gonna run 1:30, so all the footage will be within that time constraint. So it's not like, okay, now next week this movie, like, you're not, so like for them they have so much more time to work and polish it up, and like you said, it was Toei that did that for Thing, I believe. So like that's a company that has a lot of good animators and money to throw at them if they need to, right? So sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like to turn the conversation a little towards the big man thing sort of thing. So R18 warning, but if you see a lot of 3D animators, right? SFM animators, blend animators, right? Those animations that they do, you think they're doing that within a week? Those animations last somewhere between 3 seconds and like 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. And they take weeks, if not months. Forget about if they make a little short story, like 4 minutes, 5 minutes or so. That's taking months. So to pump out something by week is just not going to happen. Point blank, period. And the fact that, anime is all about, or I should say the industry is all about saving money, right? It's not going to happen. Simple as that. 3D animation takes a lot of time, especially since when you consider how many polygons it takes to make a model look good. I forgot what specifically it was, but they were showing a comparison, right? And they were saying pretty much, again, I'm going off topic, but to help my argument about this, they were saying how we're probably never going to get that insane jump in graphics again from 2D to 3D, because they showed the difference between like a low polygon like N64 model versus a PS2 model, and it was only by like a couple hundreds. Then they showed the difference between a PS3, like a PS3 level model, and a PS4 model, and it was thousands. I think almost like 10,000s worth of polygons, and the difference was minimal.
Mhm.
Right? So you put that in, and you have to not only save money but pump out new episodes week by week. It's just not going to happen. Jin, Dorohedoro, Berserk 2016.
Oh my
What?
god! Please.
I forgot the word horror or whatever came out. You know, I like that manga though.
Kengan Ashura, all of that.
I'm happy that happened to Giga Astro. Yes,
Nah,
sir.
you a piece of shit. Wow.
Suffer. That shit's crap.
Beastars.
Wow. You a piece of shit, bro. For real.
All of that, even though they don't necessarily like look like throw up bad, they're still pretty bad.
Nah, Keegan Oscar and Berserk throw it bad. Those things are fucking horrible.
Yeah, like bro, the son, like that type of animation, the way that they move in, like bro, that is some freaking Sega CD type shit, man. That's some 90s level 3D animation. That's not good. When you compare to 3D animation from anywhere else, it's not good. Point blank, period. Even the better ones, the better looking ones, it's still bad in the grand scheme of things.
I even think when they use them randomly for one moment sometimes, it's very noticeable. Like in the Broly movie, when Broly and like Gogeta are gonna clash at one point and it like does like the 3D thing, it's like it becomes very noticeable even for that second. Like it took me out. I'm like, oh, they're 3D now. Okay, now you're back.
Shit, we watch me and the boys, we watch the anime together. Commonplace to World's Strongest, Ifru Teta, right? I thought, what anime? Was it White Fox or somebody else?
Yeah. I think it was White Fox. Let me look it up.
So pretty much every single monster that they fought in the anime was CG. Oh, yeah. So all the humanoid characters, they're 2D.
Okay. Oh man.
And every single monster they fought was 3D. It was awful. It looked like ass.
It didn't work, huh?
Yeah.
No, them shits were so fucking ugly, bro. Like him fighting that snake dragon or whatever in the fucking cave, nigga. What was that, bro? Like, are they serious with that?
I guess I'm not exposed to enough of it for it to really bother me because I just go like, okay, it didn't work here.
No. See, we have a gimmick.
Go ahead.
We point out every time CG pops up as a like in the background, like CG train, CG sky, CG person. We do it all the time, but those be the instances where it's really bad. Like I mean, you saw like Gon Kaguya and the bear. Why was the bear?
Like, no, that was
so bad, but it was so funny. It was funny bad.
I was gonna say, I think with that one it worked to make me laugh. So I was laughing because we're like, huh? Why did bear look like that?
Oh, I remember now. Freaking Bunny Girl Senpai. So the cast of characters that mattered, right? They was 2D, but every single other pedestrian was 3D. Boy, that shit was ugly.
So I was like, come on, son.
Yeah, we saw like a lot of anime where they're just randomly throwing CG in there, like Arya, for example.
It do feel like that sometimes, though. Like it's in there. Like why? Like what's the reason?
Every single car was 3D.
Yeah.
Yep. the little train thing they had, but that didn't look horrible actually compared to a lot of stuff we see. That was actually okay. Mm-hmm. I think it can be okay at times, but I'm in full agreement with Simmy. I absolutely despise CG. If you give me an anime and most of it's CG, more likely than not, I'm gonna hate it. I think the only time I didn't hate it, and even though I didn't finish this anime, was Hoseki no Kuni. Because they were supposed to be like these weird kind of characters anyway. They're supposed to be
like neon, like green hair and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. It didn't appeal to me visually. Like it didn't look like it looked ugly to me, but it looked interesting visually at the same time. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's how it was. That's how it was with me.
I haven't gotten around to it, but yeah, I've been seeing it. But
that's basically how it was for me. I didn't despise it, but
ultimately, I don't feel too strongly about it yet. Maybe if they made some weird transition, they stop using regular animation, everything looks like Dick on the ground, then I'll have to. But as of right now, most things that I watch are actually a lot of stuff I watch are even traditionally hand drawn. Sometimes, like I'm that old. So, all right, let's talk about AnimangaHEADZ anime. Now, Was there? I don't know if there was a specific reason you wanted to get into this because I don't know. I don't know if I've noticed a decline in them. More so than I've noticed more people just praising slice of life stuff. But why do you think that action oriented anime aren't really in the spotlight anymore?
Okay, I'm gonna start this time.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna start this time.
Go ahead.
These niggas completely hate rawness and swag. That's what it is. They don't like people fighting each other. They don't like. Okay, so we just watched Darker Than Black, right?
Ugh.
Wait, hold on. You don't like Darker Than Black?
I don't dislike it. It's alright.
Okay, well that's interesting, but I'm not gonna kill you for that.
This is an old thing though. This is like me and Alan had this debate. Okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay. So it's not a new like.
You don't like it, right?
What?
So did he stand at you? So was y'all on the opposite sides of the spectrum? So one of y'all stand at one of y'all don't like it.
He might have overhyped it. Let's put it that way.
Oh,
okay.
That's to say my expectations were not met.
Okay.
And this is me. This is a younger me when I was like, this shit. I'll say it's trash. I gotta revisit it, but sorry.
Now here's the thing though about Darker Than Black, right?
Yeah.
Name me one anime that's seasonal or otherwise that's come out in like the past 4 or 5 years that's like Darker Than Black.
That's like Darker Than Black. Nothing really. You said top. I'd have to dig and look and go through lists.
I mean, I'm pretty sure if you dig long enough, you probably could. Yeah, but off the top of your head.
Of anything immediately, no.
But it's just like, okay, so like Darker Than Black, it's just like, yeah, it has story, but it's like they just had like some raw ass animation where they would just throw punches and kicks at each other and had a little powers. Mm. They don't do stuff like that no more. If it's not some big, giant slice of life where they're running with their height and stuff like that, that's the stuff that most time when people be hyping up. It be stuff like that. Most of the things that you see is popular, or it's like some big, the normalcy seems to be either isekai or your some crappy fantasy, or you're getting slice of life. That's what seems to be popular. That's what seems to be it. That's all the stuff they do now. They don't just have seasonal anime where it's just like people throwing hands and stuff like that. They don't really do that.
Do you think it's a generational thing? Maybe because
absolutely.
Okay, I was just say because I feel like the generation under us, whatever Zoomers, I don't know, I don't get it. I don't really care. But I feel like their mindset and mentality to approach with things is a little more. I don't like saying this because I don't like to be that guy who I walked uphill both ways to school 5 hours in the snow. But like they're a little softer, just in general, just a little softer.
But if you just think of some of the older stuff that was in, like if you look at like 2000s, 90s, it's a lot more stuff. You have stuff like Baki, anime of Baki. You have, you could probably think of some more examples, but you just have more stuff like that where it's just a lot more just like grown man just doing martial arts or just throwing punches and kicks. Because we've actually watched quite a bit of stuff like that.
But hyper masculinity is kind of frowned upon nowadays, right? Like,
yeah,
it's toxic. So maybe that could maybe just our general paradigm shift in how we're trying to think. And, I mean, I say us, but like the left, or whatever, like trying to make things more PG, progressive, and things like that. The new man, do you think that all plays into it, or you just think?
Nah, it's more so a generational thing in Japan. Well, I'm waiting my turn.
I mean,
yeah, I wouldn't say necessarily the same because they don't think about it the same way that we do. They're liberal-er compared to most of their counterparts on the other side, but I still don't think they're like overly liberal like us. Like they're not pushing that direction where they literally complaining and questioning everything. They don't really do that. It's not really their thing. They just don't care about that stuff. They don't care to anime. They don't care to do it. And also, I think they just, they just like to hop on what's popular. I mean, everybody does, but they do it to like a ridiculous extent to me. Like it literally looks sometimes that they just be like copy and paste each other and just switching tiny little things and be like, okay, it's a brand new anime. It's like there's nothing different. I think I did my favorite joke is to bring out Asterisk Wars and then bring out Cavalier. There's literally, it's almost the exact same plot, the exact same characters, just different colors.
Yeah, no. Hairs. Asterisk War and Chivalry of a Failed Knight is literally the same exact series. Just one is PG and the other is PG-13. I watched both of those series while they was airing in the same season. I could go to bat for it. It's literally the same exact series. Just one is PG, the other is PG-13. One is pastel colored, the one is darker colored. That's it. You know what funny thing is? I like both of them.
Look at this
But
guy.
yeah, they just moved away from stuff that I would consider more on the rawness and swag end of the spectrum.
But
You don't be doing stuff like that anymore.
Maybe the decline. Maybe there's a decline of popularity. I don't know. I haven't actually looked into this because, like, I remember this. Like the thing I can agree with is like because the next part that we kind of have is like the same thing as above, like gore, like gory anime. That I've definitely seen a huge decline in. Like I would have. I'm not a gore person anyways because I'm pretty squeamish. No, I'm not as bad for animated stuff. Not as bad, but like things that are extremely gory to me, I don't really see that at all on from at least from Japan. I would say I don't see that really anymore. If anything, I would see the censored version, and I would have to wait until the Blu-ray comes out to watch the on black screen. But I mean, things like I mean, I guess Attack on Titan kind of, but even then, I feel like the anime kind of goes out their way to censor it in some ways with angles and.
Oh, they do.
You hear the crunch, but you know the birds fly up the trees. You know, like like, yeah, like you're not even really seeing it. So I don't know, but again, I don't feel particularly too strongly about this. So I mean, Simmy, you go ahead, take the wheel.
All right, so yeah, I'm asking you a question too. So think about all of the Meathead series you have read, right? So think about Crows, think about Worst, think about fucking All Around Maguru, think about Hajime no Ippo, think about fucking think about Sugarless, think about all that shit, right? You Hakusho, all that, right? Series that specifically focus on fighting, where the main and pretty much only resolve the conflict is fighting, right?
Yeah.
Now, outside of God of High School, name me 3 anime adaptations that adapt a Meathead series.
Well, like or is it general? Because I guess technically Kendrick Ashura did.
Well, go ahead. Yeah, say well. Go ahead and say well. Then yes, I do.
Yeah, okay. So Penguin Ashura, that's one. That came out how many years ago? Since from God of High School, like
I don't know.
maybe 3,
That's all I got.
4.
That's all I got. I mean, I don't know. yeah. I hear what you're saying. I don't know. Does Yaiba count?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
I mean, well, I guess you could argue. I wouldn't classify Yaiba as a Meathead series at all.
No. Okay. No, I wouldn't call that Meathead series, but I mean, conflicts are solved by sword fights. But I mean, I guess it's more about stopping my guy, Smooth Criminal, fucking Muzan.
Muzan. It's about turning his sister back
That's
too.
how. Yeah, that too, and his sister with Nezuko and stuff. So like, yeah. Okay, I hear you. I got it.
Yeah, you can make an argument for it though.
You can, but then again, I would argue that all the ones that maybe were like that, none of them are done well. Cause like I honestly would low key, even though I used to call, I don't even bring this up. But I used to call Taizai, what is it, like romance disguised as a battle shonen, but they fought a lot in that and crazily. But I don't know. I can't really think of any really. Cause the most of the things I see are being hyped up are things more like Re:Zero and like Hosenkino, what do you call it, Kuni, stuff like that. Like I've seen that a lot, and there's another one I always see, it's a slice of life, but I don't know what it's called though. But like I definitely see more praise community wise about things away from action and things that don't focus on action. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, this is a side point, but I make a joke, which is not really a joke. I'm being 100% serious. But one of the key things that more anime critics and objectively good crowd think, even though they don't flat out say it, is that the second you have an anime where the characters are throwing hands, is bad. They docking points. They don't like anime where freaking there's fights in it like that, or that the main problem solving is fighting. It don't even have to be a main problem solving is fight. Just they fighting like that. Period. Mm-hmm. But that's a conversation for a different day. But I could actually talk about this since I'm an actual fight fan and whatnot. So in a wonderful time known as the 90s, aka the peak of humanity, right? MMA was invented. MMA became a full-blown thing in 94, I think UFC 1 happened. I mean, you also had freaking Veil Tudo and shit like that, but when UFC 1 came out in like 94, that was it, right? it was boom. Like we finally mixed together martial arts to have this ultimate fighting, right? And not only that, you had the freaking heavyweights, the heavyweight era, Mike Tyson and shit like that in the 90s, right? Also in the side of Japan, K1, the biggest kickboxing organization in the world, was in its peak, right? So fighting was it. Fighting was super popular, right?
Yeah.
Then once UFC started getting more popular, they started holding more shows. Then more mixed martial arts or more ultimate fighting organizations cropped up, and then Japan had their own called Pride Fighting Championships, right? And that was also really, 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 really popular. It's argued that Pride was the best MMA promotion of all time, and I would absolutely agree because it was fucking insane, right? So you have in real life, right, fighting being popular. Fighting is immensely popular in Japan, not only with Pride but with K1, right? So both kickboxing and MMA. You have manga that are literally taking from what you're seeing in real life.
Okay. Yeah.
Itagaki does that a lot. If when you read Baki, there is a lot of real world characters from the entire world of martial arts, wrestling, kickboxing, boxing, MMA, all of that in there. Also, Garden, which is actually a light novel, which is super popular in the 90s, is literally doing the same exact thing too. And it got a freaking manga adaptation drawn by Itagaki. There's full blown Pride fighters in Garden, right? So fighting is super popular. So you have fighting manga like Baki, right? Then you have Meathead series that not exactly like martial arts, but still fighting. So like Yu Yu Hakusho, for example, right? All of that was super popular. That was the thing, right? And those got anime, and those were popular. Yu Yu Hakusho got its anime. Baki got not only an OVA, but then its own dedicated anime on top of that. So that was popular. But then when they moved along, somewhere along the lines, they just stopped caring about fighting like that. Like Yankee manga was also really popular in the 90s. That's when Crows came. Well, actually, I think Crows came out in the 80s.
It might have been late 80s, but
yeah,
that's still an era of hypermasculinity. So
right, Fist of the North Star. That's actually no, I think that's 90s.
I think
Fist of the North Star was in the 80s. Yep.
Oh, okay, so yeah, Fist of
Crows was it says 94. So
okay, so it made the mark. But all of those things was super popular. People are just fighting. They're just throwing hands, right? So then somewhere along the lines, like once we hit 2010 or so, they just stopped caring about fighting. And I mean, I guess we could.
Nope, sorry, that's the anime. I'm sorry, 1990 to 1998. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So
literally at the beginning of the 90s when it started.
All right. Smooth. So I guess we could also consider that back to real life. So once Pride got bought by the UFC, and once K1 lost its steam, J fighting in general lost popularity. J fighting was just a shell of its former self. It was nowhere near as popular as it was in the 90s. In the 90s, J fighting organizations was selling out the Tokyo Dome. That stadium is holding freaking over 40,000 people and whatnot, right? So once he got hit like the the late 2000s, J fighting lost its popularity. And I guess we could go back to manga now. Fighting is losing its popularity with the masses, so manga like, I guess there's no point in freaking writing martial arts manga like that anymore, right? So I don't know why, but just fighting series in general.
Yeah, no samurais, no ninjas.
Yeah, they don't like. If you look at manga that's created now, they barely be manga about just straight up fighting, right? You don't even gotta be fighting to the death, just fighting. The last manga that I remember that just straight up about fighting was Shonen Jump Can, which I'm still pissed about, was fucking Ultra Battle Satellite. and I was really fucking enjoying that. But after that, it's like they don't even really do it no more. And then when you look at freaking anime adaptations, it's even worse because they haven't, for some reason, there's a lot of series even from that heyday that didn't get its own anime adaptation or a proper one. You know, like name some freaking Yankee anime adaptations right now.
They haven't done anything that I care about. That weird little 2-episode of Crows was not it, but
Oh, that OVA was ass. Let me tell you, that shit was ass.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, I got you. I'm with you.
And Bebop High School is more of a comedy, I would say. So it's like, bro, they didn't even animate. They don't animate Yankee manga. They don't animate fighting manga either. It is like even like even martial arts manga, like outside of Hajime no Ippo, and I guess King on Ashura too, even though it's freaking
Sumo one with the
Hinomori Zumo, yeah, I actually really like that one too. That got us anime.
I haven't watched it or read it, but I know it exists.
Yeah, I was reading the manga. I actually really liked it. It was cool. But then see that ended too, you know, and it's just like where they don't animate fighting manga like that anymore. Like where's the anime adaptation for All Around Meguru? Where's the anime adaptation for Karate Shokoshu Kohinata Minoru? That manga literally has over 500 chapters. Like, bro,
I don't know what to tell you because I feel like part of you is onto something because I do know how fiction and media changes with real life a lot of the times. Like it's often a reflective of the time. So maybe you're onto something with like Japanese fighting not being a big deal, and maybe that's where the decline comes. But I do think that conventional thinking about storytelling has changed, where people like someone will look at Crows and I'll tell what it's about, and it's like, oh, it's just high school kids fighting, and it's like there's actually a lot more substance there if you take the opportunity.
I mean, the stuff with now is like that. I mean, it's high school kids talking, high school kids at the lunch table, high school kids helping other high school kids with their problems.
I'm explaining to you the stigma where like something like that is probably gonna see as more nuanced and relatable and things of that nature, where it's like being a 6 foot, for smoking, fighting dude, who just beats niggas up is.
I mean, honestly, in some ways, I find that stuff more relatable to our climate than the other stuff.
That's when I go back to maybe it's just a generational thing, right? And I don't.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't have anything to latch on to where I can definitively say this is that, but I definitely see the thinking of people where it's like, there's no way to kind of be smart about combat, I guess, to these people or not, or they have the we'll talk about it, but they have the kind of misconception that if something is kind of simple in nature, there's no substance, it's not complex, it's not deep, there's no depth to it, it's just
Well, yeah, that's my fight with everybody for something like One Punch Man.
Like if you go inside the water, there's a lot of shit in there, so.
Yeah, it's like I understand, right? There's trend, and there always has been trends. Like, for example, in the 90s, the whole cyberpunk thing was super popular, right? And for some reason, it got popular again. But even with those trends, once we hit 2010, the whole MMO trend became a thing, and then that ran its course, and now the whole isekai thing is the latest trend. And the whole spectrum of anime and manga. I should say anime and light novels anyways, but manga universe. You know what I'm trying to say. That's the main trend today, isekai, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with those trends. But the point I'm trying to make is this specific genre or subgenre has completely gone to the wayside for no reason. Okay. Why did Teppu get canceled? There was no reason for it to get canceled. That is one of the best fighting manga I've ever read in my entire life.
I mean, I'm a huge fan.
Like, bro.
This is one of my favorites in my top 20. It's mine too.
It's in my top 30.
Yeah, it's like, bro, the art was absolutely phenomenal. The story was unique. It wasn't that bullshit of, I'm the MC and I'm short, so I can't do it, so I gotta overcome. Literally, and I'm not even trying to slander Haikyuu at all, because I think Haikyuu is fantastic. Haikyuu does that same exact stereotype thing with fucking Hinata, right?
Yeah.
Tepu literally takes it in the opposite direction. Our MC is tall as fuck. She's not a fighter. She was never athletic, but she has the natural build for it, right? You don't usually see that when it comes to sports series.
It's also like the ultimate underdog. All odds are against you. He's 5'2", trying to go to the league.
Yeah, type shit.
Yeah,
right.
It's too much. Too many obstacles in a sense.
And then with this, it was so raw. It still got canceled. Like that, it don't make no sense to me. If Tepu getting canceled is not an example of just does this whole stigma against fighting, then I don't know what is. Because there's nothing wrong with that series at all.
I can't use that logic because I'd have to know the magazine, the popularity and sales. Like I'd have to look at all that before I can make a statement like that. But I feel you. I gotta look into it. I can't because there's series where I've read. I'm like, oh, there's nothing wrong with this. It's great. It's well. I'm like, oh wow. Then I look, oh, it was not selling. That's why it got canceled. And I can't explain to you why it didn't sell, but hey man, I'd be like,
I mean, you could make that as an argument as part of sell because these people don't like fighting.
Oh, all right, you got it.
Because there's nothing else. I mean, it's not like there was a fundamental huge problem with the series itself. Like there wasn't some big writing problem where you're just like, I can't read this series. And the art's good, so it's not like the art was lacking. The art's better than most probably regular art or most regular things you see now. So the art was good. The story was solid. Maybe you wouldn't think it wasn't the most unique thing in the world, but it was definitely not bad, not even close.
And the usual stick that people love to cling on to as the cowards as they are wasn't there either. So there's no fan service. There's no more objectifying we means either, right?
Yeah.
So what was the issue?
Again,
it's
it's
just.
Context, but I like the manga. That's why.
Yeah, it's like it was super fire. It was really enjoyable, and it got canceled. And it's just like, bro, we can't win.
Because I didn't think Beelzebub deserved to get that ending. I was so invested, and then we got that piece of shit with Fuji, and it was done. Then I got a little Make chapters or whatever. Like I don't know, but I don't even remember how the sales were going. But I thought Beelzebub was quite literally one of the funniest things I've ever read from Shonen Jump. That's like not Gintama. But
I mean, it was running for years too, so I would say that the sales were there at one point at least. Anyways.
Yeah, it might have just been like a ran its course kind of thing. But all right, talk about some webtoon adaptations because.
I mean, what's the talk about, my dear friend?
Why are they dick on the ground? Why do they
what is there to talk about?
I haven't watched all of high school in its entirety really. I just watched the scenes that matter and moments that I cared about. But like, I just like why are they getting this wrong? Now I have my own opinions and my own kind of viewpoint on this, but like. They've messed up Noblesse already. I haven't gone to the new Noblesse to see how they've done it. I thought they absolutely ruined the Tower God anime and the God of High School anime. I heard they rushed into like the God stuff, like the
bro. Okay. They adapted 100 chapters in 12 episodes.
Successfully?
Successful? Not even close. Not even close. Bro, they left. It got a high school. I didn't even watch it, but I watched episode 1 and I already saw the problem and I stopped watching it. Okay, they literally left all the motivation for why they were even fighting in the first place and got a high school completely out. They were just like, "Oh, y'all wanna see fights, don't y'all? Y'all wanna watch this for fight? Well, that's all you're gonna get. All we're gonna give you is just animation for fights. That's it." Any of the story, and I'm not even like a big fan of God of High School, even though I do think the beginning of the story, the first arc, was way better, and people say it's better now, but
I think
real reason to read it.
I think up until the green guy who can take whatever, and there was the key. I think that's good. Anything after that, they lost me.
It was good for a while, but they just threw out all the motivation for like them fighting, like the girl while she was fighting, and then the boy while he was fighting for his friend. They all out the window. They were just like, "Come fight." Or Morgan even losing to the letter guy in the beginning, and that's part of the reason why he came.
So I think out of the three of us, I'm the only one who finished the Tower God anime from beginning to end.
No, I finished it.
Oh, you finished it too? All right. So and
I
then
wasn't happy about it,
I
but I
just
finished.
sniffed the ending.
and then freaking with God of High School, I haven't watched
I
it,
watched the original.
but
See the
Torian literally told me exactly what happened in the first episode, right? Or so. So as Vince was saying, they completely I'm not saying not went over to come back to it another time as you weirdo anime onlys love to try to freaking throw in, right? That flimsy ass blue truth. No. Here's a red truth for you. They completely left out the entire reason why the three protagonists are even there. So the very first scene of freaking Origin that we see with him talking about I've never lost this, that, and the third, right? He like fighting so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the dude come here and give him a freaking letter, and then Origin's like whatever. Then he tries to fight him and he gets washed, right?
I actually remember that because I feel like the guy did something like, how did you do that? And like the forest was gone, and then the next scene is like on his ass, and the letter's just in the ground, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They completely skipped that, right?
Okay.
They completely skipped the scene with Dawe. You don't even know that he's fighting to freaking
Save his
save his best friend, right? You don't even know his best friend is literally dying.
Not like this. Not like this. No.
And then freaking I forgot her name, but
do it.
Yeah, I forgot her name too. Yeah.
they completely skipped the scene with her freaking father telling her, go breed a straw.
Go get a straw. Yeah.
Go breed so you can make a strong offspring type shit, right?
Yeah.
They completely skipped all of that, left it out entirely, and just showed you the scene where all three of them happen to be chasing the same freaking thief on the bike before jumping to the freaking island. Bro, what is going on?
I don't know.
I heard that they completely left out characters from the freaking source material.
My one friend, he's like he's doing the thing where he watches the episode and then he just loses his fucking mind because it's bad. He watched every single one every week. Come play to me, and I'm just like, all right, man. I told you.
Why are you still watching this?
I told you about these webtoon adaptations. I had the first taste of this years ago with the Noblesse OVA, but I'm gonna give you my reasoning. I don't have any actual this is what I think. I'm telling you, this is just me, right? I don't actually know. But I have a couple of issues. One, with Tower, I feel like especially Korean webtoons have a different feel to them, just in general, right? And just deciding to let Japan do it to me, I think you've removed any uniqueness of the Korean culture, Korean like to me, you might as well just be in Japan. You get what I'm saying? I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on both cultures, things like that, but when I'm watching a K-drama versus like a J-drama, I do see differences. And I feel this way about stuff from China and stuff too, right? From on the eastern side of stuff, right? Where I'm like, no, there's distinct things about each culture and traditions that they have that bleed into their fiction or their nonfiction, like their media, that I can see differences. And Tower God to me felt very different. Very different reading it, experience it the first time. And then when I watched the anime, it felt very run-in-the-mill to me. Like this could have been any generic, like any anime.
Exactly.
Nothing about the way it was adapted to me was unique. It didn't hold that uniqueness to it. And I do my best to kind of immerse myself in. I watched it in Korean dub and all that stuff too. Right? I'm not watching it in English. I'm not watching it in Japanese. I'm watching it in Korean just so I can kind of simulate that feel. But I wasn't getting it. So to me, it's lost a property of uniqueness because inherently in a lot of ways it's not manga. It really isn't, even though it is, but it isn't. And obviously I've seen Americans have American comics. It's really a manga though, but it's a comic. Like I've seen all types of cultures adapt things from all types of nations across the world. That's fine, dandy. But I just felt like if you, let's say Studio Mirror or something, like the guys who did a lot of stuff for for Korra and Legend of Ultron and stuff, and I think they're doing Koji, right? Those guys are Korean and they're talented as hell, and I felt like if you just let those guys do it, it would. I'm not gonna pretend it was gonna be perfect, but it would have been better at the very least. I felt like it would have felt different. There's one more point I had to make, and I lost the plot in my fucking ramble. But anyways, that's kind of how I see it. Yeah, nothing about it is unique. And okay, I understand why they gave to Japan because the publicity, it would be better. and like most people probably can't name Korean animators or companies off the top of their head, or anything from Korea that's animated there that's like really popular, right? You'd probably have to go out your way or find some type of specialist, someone who's like niche, that just loves and cares about that stuff. But you can see a lot of stuff in anime just in general, especially now that it's breaking the threshold more often than it isn't. Like you might just see a ad here or something, or a billboard, whatever the case. It's more popular over here. So I get like, okay, we could use Japan to push the webtoons popularity, but I think they should have animated it. At least outsource a lot of things back to there, because my issue with a lot of these things, it doesn't feel right. It feels like just generic anime that I could have run across. Like if I had no idea what a webtoon was and I watched Tower of God, I would have thought there was nothing special.
Yeah, you thought it was seasonal anime.
Yeah, exactly. I would have thought it was just some generic, I'm a special boy in a new tower. Yeah, like I wouldn't have gotten the feel that I got when I read it when I read it in 2010. Okay, that's all I have to say before I keep going.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree with the whole culture aspect loss. I'm going to once again go back to that random YouTube comment I saw. And once again, take this with a grain of salt, because, you know, people on the internet, they ain't shit. They're actually full of it. But so apparently and allegedly, according to this YouTube comment, the reason why there isn't Korean animation, Korean 2D animation like that, is because anime is already popular over there, right? So they already threw up the white flag. They're like, there's no point in making domestic animation over here because Japanese animation is already popular over here. Japanese animation is already ate up and gobbled up over here, right? So them freaking not domestically animating it and having Japanese studios animate it, they already lost the game. I truly, honestly believe if they had if they had Korean studios, Korean animators, Korean artists, Korean directors, Korean scenario writers on it, it would have been better. Because man, oh man, that Tower of God anime is literally one of the worst adaptations I've ever seen in my life. That shit was so fucking.
I'm not even gonna go that strong. I get your point, and I definitely points that I really didn't even think about when I first watched it. But I don't even care about all that. They didn't make it feel special. It didn't feel special. The thing is, when you read, especially the beginning of Tower of God, and basically was my big overarching point, is that the little things they could have did to make it feel more mystical, more just like have a different type of atmosphere. Because I think one of the biggest things that it was lacking more than anything was just atmosphere. It didn't feel special. Nothing about it. Not from maybe you could say the character. Other than that, nothing about it felt special. Nothing about it felt unique. Not the way they talk. There's no monologue. There's no like special way of directing it. They didn't do anything unique. They were just like, here you go.
And I want
we're gonna roll this out here.
Something about myself perfectly clear. I don't know if you guys are the same way with me. I don't necessarily have a problem with a one-to-one adaptation, but I do think that if you're adapting something and you don't use the advantages of your media to its advantage, I think you failed as an adaptation. So what can anime do that, let's say, manga can't? If you're not using those things to your advantage, I don't think you're doing a right job with the adaptation. I can understand you omitting things at the beginning of Tower God because I understand it's exposition heavy and maybe you want to bleed it into a later part. Rearranging the order that things happen does not bother me too much if I can understand the change. I don't mind like, maybe omitting some things or whatever. Like that's just the nature of the beast of adaptation. However, changes that I don't understand that's the thing. Like why did the Black March Zawardo Bam is fucking angry bloodlusted, going to bang this girl in the head, kill her, Haryun, and kiss him, and then he like knock. Like what the hell was going on? What was the act? Why was that there? Like now I'm questioning changes because now that doesn't make any sense to me. What was the fucking point of that? That did not happen in the webtoon, right? And I'm not saying you can't add things that are not in the webtoon, but what that fundamentally does is, to me, it breaks Bam's character, especially season 1 Bam. He's quite literally the sweet boy prodigy. He's not angry at anybody. He just, I could stop. Oh, stop. First. Like he's not doing anything crazy at this point. and he's just a nice, naive kid. It's when he comes back as Jovial Grace that we start to see more changes. So I'm like, him being this bloodlusted, angry I'm like, oh god, I'm out. I was out after that. I just couldn't do no more. But anyways, I don't really know what it is, but something with visual novels and webtoons, these guys just can't get it right. Just can't get it right. VNs especially, because VNs is something I've been waiting for. Like I've been waiting to get right for since like 2006, bro. So I don't know about that. So was there anything else you guys want to add to that?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, man, it's just with TOG's. Well, actually, no, I remember what I was gonna say. Sorry, I was gonna say I'm on the extreme side of the spectrum where I don't care for adaptations at all. Right? I'm of the mindset of I don't understand, nor do I want to. So to stop y'all from giving me y'all reasoning, because I don't care why people are excited for anime adaptations. I do not care for adaptations at all. And that's not to say there's no adaptation I like, right? I like the Kinnikuman anime. I like the Haruhi anime. I like the Reborn anime, right? Yeah, I like this. There are a bunch of adaptations that I like, right? But to me, this is my logic. If I'm going to experience a series, and first impressions matter, first impressions are the single most important impression, what am I going to do? I don't know. Maybe I should just experience the series how it was intended to be experienced. And just look at the source material, right? And of course, I don't know, all of us in here can do this, but I feel like we're the minority when it comes to this. But for some reason, people can't look past differences. People can't understand that this did not happen in the source material, or this was a liberty, this, that, and the third, right? This, that, and the third, right? So I can actually do that. I can look at something that's an adaptation. It could be complete ass. And I'd be like, okay, well, the source material is probably different. Still look at the source material, and even though they adapted the key moments and whatnot, see the differences and appreciate the source material, and then even flat out like the source material, right? I can actually do that. But still, at the end of the day, I would rather just look at the source material. I don't care for adaptations at all. And it's not just anime adaptations either. If there's a manga adaptation or something, I'm not going to look at it. Light novel adaptation, I'm not going to look at it. Just give me the source material and I'll keep it pushing. That's all I need, right? So you could say that I'm biased, what may have you. Whatever, that's fair. I don't mind. But just the Tower of God anime was legitimately one of the worst adaptations I've seen in my life, man. From the removal of scenes, adding scenes that didn't happen, and completely changing
the actual story and context, meaning, oh my
characters, all of that, everything that you just listed. It's like, why am I here? Why is anybody here? This is complete ass cheeks. It's awful. There's no reason for anybody to be looking at this, because all it's gonna do is make you think that this series is ass. And as I said, most people can't look past this. So if they see this is their very first impression, their only impression, they're like, it's ass. Throw it up into the freaking air and then keep it moving. That's my main issue with anime adaptations. If the first impression is important, why would you fuck it up? And if it's fucked up and you see people saying, hey, this is fucked up, you should look at the source material instead. Why are you going to ignore them and still look at the fucking anime? It don't make no sense. All bad adaptations do is ruin series. More so than they do good for the series, so in my opinion.
Here's where I'll sound different from you. I'm going to take Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball's simple. Dragon Ball has his manga, anime, I guess movies, games. There's live, that's whatever. It has many ways you can experience the story. I'm like Simmy in the way where, like, for me, whatever it was originally is the version of it I generally care the most about. So if it was originally a visual novel before it was adapted into a movie, I'm just gonna play the visual novel. This is how I am, right? That doesn't mean I won't check out the adaptation after the fact to see if they did a good job, but I'm going to start with the source material. I'm gonna go, oh, this was a novel before it was a movie, before it was a TV series. I'm reading the novel first. Like, there's some situations where it just doesn't happen. Like, I would say The Witcher. Like, The Witcher, I didn't know at the time was a book before the game came out. I didn't know. I had no clue. I knew after the fact. So, like, sometimes I just don't have my facts straight, and I usually check beforehand. But there are some occasions where I just kind of blindly get into something because I don't want to know too much. So so when he says I don't need a good adaptation, I totally feel that in the sense where it's like Phoenix, right? The games are fantastic and I love them. So when I want to experience the story, I just go play the game. I don't need an anime to make me feel what I felt when I played it. Not that the anime could not do a good job. It's ass, by the way. Ace Attorney anime's trash. Don't watch that shit. Play the game. My point is just that I don't need it. But if it's good, icing on the cake. That's kind of where I fall.
I feel that. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way as you. Well, honestly, a lot of things that I watched in the past is kind of before I knew that stuff was adaptations of light novels and stuff like that. Like with Higurashi, for example. Luckily for me, I only watched the first 3, but I watched like the first 3 episodes of like the original anime.
Yeah.
And then after that,
because I remember my friend got Danganronpa from the Danganronpa anime, and I was like, no, sir, we're not doing this. Not with this series. This one's too important. At the time, at least. This one's too important. And then I got him the fuck out of there. I remember lending him my Vita.
On God, like, it's to the point where I will take extreme measures. I will buy you this game.
I've done that. I've definitely done that. They weren't full price games. They were like $20. Well, like, yeah, I've done it.
Right? So it is like so I remember when the Tower of God anime was airing, right? A lot of people was coming out of the wazoo chatting about some well, you know, Tower of God, it was 2 tanks heavy and they can't do that. Yeah. And I'm like, wait, hold on. I know you did not just tell me that anime cannot be 2 word heavy. When dang near every other critically acclaimed series, all they do is talk. It don't make no sense. It doesn't add up. The arguments that anime onlys and anime defenders use is so flimsy, man. All of these critically acclaimed anime is literally minutes upon minutes, episodes upon episodes of just dialogue. All these characters do is talk. Bunny Girl Senpai, all they was doing was just talking. Bro, Monogatari, even though that shit is raw, the majority of it is dialogue.
I mean, people's favorite arc in Hunter x Hunter, the Chimera Ant arc, they got a narrator who don't shut the hell up.
Just narration, right?
Yeah. He don't shut the hell up.
So yeah, that's never been a good excuse for me. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
And it's like, bro, wait, hold on. It's like, bro, you can't sit here and tell me that anime cannot adapt exposition. They have shown that they can numerous times with other series. So why are you trying to play me and tell me that they can? It don't make no sense to me. Now go ahead.
I've always wondered why more series didn't take that Fate Zero approach, where it's like, if you know you really gotta take the time to kind of set it up, extend the first episode a little longer and get it out the way.
See, that's what we were talking about. I remember when we first had discussion, we said, why wouldn't like the Tower Guy episode like an hour long?
Yeah, I would have done that. I would have just been like, all right, I know this might be rough for a lot of people, but if you could just sit through this, it's like 45 minutes of text. You're gonna get some. You're gonna have the knowledge you need moving forward, and we're gonna be good. I think that more series should do that, because that happens a lot with TV. A lot of times, if you see the literal pilot episode are usually a lot longer than the average episode that's gonna run, to the point where sometimes it could be like well over an hour. I've seen a lot of first episodes of things on a live action where the episodes are on average 42 minutes, but the first episode runtime is actually like 66 minutes. Why not?
Yeah, and that's what I said. They felt like in the first episode they were rushing to get to the second episode. And people were acting like, I was like, how did you not see that?
And if anybody here who's listening is smart enough to understand like TV programming and schedules and whatnot and everything, my only rebuttal to you is that Japan has on numerous occasions tried out different types of TV scheduling and cool stuff like that. The biggest example I can think of is Katana Gatari, which was a monthly series. It came out every month, but every episode was 45 minutes. I don't see why you couldn't try something a little different or nuanced just to see how it goes. So anyone smart enough to know all that stuff, that's my rebuttal. I don't know if I probably still sound dumb, but I don't really get TV scheduling like that.
Like, so it's like, bro, if we've seen numerous series not only have a lot of exposition, but even be to the point where it's nothing but dialogue, it's nothing but characters just talking to each other. Why all of a sudden Tower of God can't do that? It did not make any sense. All them people arguing, oh, well, it's too much text, it's too much lore dump. No, it's not. Because all the anime y'all rate 9 out of 10, all they do is talk. So what is going on? It was really one of the most frustrating times for me. It was, and then the anime just kept getting worse and worse and worse as episodes got along. It's just, I don't know, man. Thank God, thank Christ that my love for Tower of God has diminished since, by the time the anime came out. So I didn't really care about how this was going to ruin the series and its popularity and its general opinion, its mass opinion, if you will. So it was whatever to me. But it's like, my God, like this anime was really bad, really, really, really bad. I think I rated it like a 3 on the Mal, and so, but it was awful, man. And it seems like they just keeping that pace with every other freaking webtoon adaptation. You have God of High School removing characters, skipping chapters, adapting 130 chapters in like 12 episodes or so. They got it, man.
And I don't know, man. I just don't have the answer, but I feel like this is a good segue because I always have to say this because I feel like this is the one thing that gets lost in this a lot of times. Like I remind people that a webtoon is not specific to Korea or whatever. Like they come worldwide, but most of what we're talking about come from there. But I want to talk about Danhua. And this is just animation from China to keep it simple, right? So Chinese animators, Chinese studio, whatever. I want to talk about how it's different from anime, if you kind of think it's better or worse, or just culturally different, and if they're important, what importance they have, if you think they're important or whatnot. I don't know how many you guys have seen, but like I'll kind of start this one off. Like this is something I want to talk about because I don't. It's not a hot take, but it's a take that I know will anger a lot of people, and I've felt like this for a while since I started branching out, watching animation because I started watching a lot of stuff from France and a lot of places. But we'll keep it Danhua. But I think that Japan, as the way they animate stuff, I think they're behind the world in a lot of ways. I think a lot of other countries in the world do animation better than Japan, and I think China is one of them, especially on average that I find because a lot of these stuff, I think they kind of classify as ONAs and whatnot, but a lot of the stuff that are Danhuas that come out that I find on an average scale, the quality is just higher from start to finish. And the ones that bang, they bang so much harder than the animes that bang to the point where it's like, I'm looking at like something like Fog Hill of 5 Elements. I'm like, I was told this was made by 6 individuals. That's fucking wild to me. How much better they move and fight than almost any anime you think of that everyone loves and hypes to the high heavens. Not a single in the 3 episodes of Fog of the 5 Hill that I've watched. Not a single anime I've seen in the past like 6 years goes harder. I could probably make 2 exceptions, but other than that, no. Like, what are they doing over there? Where I'm like, bro, where is the creativity? Because I find that a lot of anime that do is just move fast. Liquid, Simmy, Liquid, no impact.
Yes, boy.
But when I slow down Legend of Hay, when I slow down Fog Hill 5, when I slow down Scissor 7 just to kind of see the action a little bit, like if you're actually watching how they're jumping and dodging and moving around and using their powers in creative ways, but very quickly, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the tactic you guys think you're seeing when you're watching Hunter x Hunter, and they're telling you all this, and I'm watching them, I could just see it. Oh, he knows that. I'm kidding you not. When he fought the fucking Phoenix Demon, I'm like, oh my goodness. I think he noticed that he likes to like swing a certain type of way, and he started dodging it more. And they didn't have to tell me. I could just see it with my eyes. They showed me and not tell me. And I'm at the point now where I just think that like France. I even seen something from like the Middle East, from Jamaica, bro. Like they're going crazy, and I understand they have so much more time to polish it and not any type of schedule and stuff like that. But like, I am genuinely from top to bottom in a general sense unimpressed with how anime is being animated now in comparison to other places in the world, especially China. and France right now.
Yeah, man. Listen, I agree with you on the whole Japanese animation thing. And I've thought this way since I entered middle school that Japan has the worst animation uh in the world. I mean, it might not be in the world, but to its peers at least, anyway, from all the heavy hitters.
Hmm.
And the only thing that they have going for them is their art style, right? Because the anime art style is so popular. That's the main appeal of it. The way the characters look, their designs and whatnot, right? But the way they actually move, excuse me, the way that they actually move is horrible, man. From all the freeze frames and the still frames and the tricks to save money and whatnot, it doesn't look good at all, man. Like a character's walking, but they're not actually walking. It's just a animation cycle. The character walking, the floor is just repeating and shit like that. Like, bro, it's it's not bad
Yeah,
in the grand scheme of things, but it's bad compared to everybody else, man.
because
Just from the simple thing of mouth flaps.
mhm.
You know, when characters talk in anime, they mouths it's not moving to match the word that they're saying. It's just open, close, open, close, open, close.
Mhm.
Everywhere else, the mouth flaps are matching the words that they're saying. You know.
I would even go as far to say with a lot of the things that I watched, they tried to emulate the sound that you would make if you're gonna like say certain words, like your mouth and your lips and your teeth and tongue do certain types of things. They emulate that a little better. Whereas like with anime, just open, close, open, close, open, close, or like they'll just say open, kind of sometimes. If or just not even open. Actually, I've seen that a lot too. So, I think you hit it on the head where like anime is cost effective in nature. That's how it is, and that's how they still move about it because of the rate they pump it out, the amount of people they have, yada yada. I'm not. We're not cognizant of that part of the process, but I just think because a lot of other places are not doing that, their quality is just better. And I understand this also could end up becoming a more of a corporation versus indie because a lot of the things that I've been watching, they're not humongous companies that like are titans in the animation. They're like, yo, six guys are like, yo, let's make something dope, and they spend 4 years making it. Like I get that, but Jesus Christ, it's getting to the point where it's like I will not put up with anime the things that I don't have to put up with the other ones things I'm watching. Like the moment you start to waste any time, I'm dragging that cursor and I'm dragging it until I see something that's happening. I'm not wasting 3 minutes of the birds flying and the ocean crashing into the water and the rocks falling while Frieza and Goku look at themselves for 5 minutes. I'm not doing that shit anymore. It will not fly. It will not work. I'm skipping it. I'm dragging it. I don't care. I don't even care if the point of it was to create a tense atmosphere. 3 minutes? I'm good on that. 3 minutes. So, and a lot of and like I'll say this too because a lot of the ones that I watched they're not too long. They're short, like Legend of Hay. They're like 7 episodes, and I find that I think brevity is better than longer episodes. I don't know if anyone feels the same about that, but that's not really part of like the animation itself. I mean, it could be in the sense where like because you could confine it to a shorter time, like Adventure Time episodes are only like 10 minutes long. The quality is coming out a little different. I'm not gonna get into the Cal art stuff because they storyboard really weird by not doing it sometimes, but I'm not gonna get into that. But my big picture takeaway is kind of with these last 4 years of analysis is that I think that Japan needs to step it up overall. It's not bad, it's not ugly. I watched Promare like 2 months ago. I thought Promare looked really good. It's the first good thing Trigger has really done since like since like Gurren Lagann. I know Guy next up, but you'll talk about the people who branched off and made Trigger. I'm aware. There's always that one person who's gonna fact check you on everything. I always have to add in that I know, but anyways. I don't know.
Yeah, man. I would say I didn't even get to freaking fully talk about dinghies like that, but nah, even like American cartoons move way better than anime moves. And again,
The models are kind of could be kind of bad though. But yeah, keep going.
it's like, and yeah, that's the thing. When you say animation, there's a lot of people who don't understand. There is a difference between art and animation. The way a character looks is the art. The way that they move is the animation. There's a lot of people who don't know the difference at all, right?
Like
So when I say
character model from like Justice League. Like I don't like the character models for these characters, but I'm not upset when they're in movement. They're animated fine, but when they're just talking, they look ugly to me.
Yeah, so like when I say that American cartoons they're animated better, I mean that the way that they move, not their character designs, not the way that they look, how they're moving. That's what we're talking about here, right? Listen, the episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog where I forgot his name. It's something something Carlosh or something like that. But pretty much the episode where the dude who's in the moving tower was trying to make everybody sad and whatnot, right? It was a two part arc.
I know what you're talking about.
The second episode where the dude where he's shooting, this tower is moving, the opera music is playing, and he's shooting the balls through the city, and they're entering people. Well, actually, no, this was where Courage was saving people. So he was shooting the ping balls, and they was saving people from being depressed. So every time they'll go into somebody, they'll stop being depressed, right? Mm-hmm. That scene is still one of the most beautiful scenes I've ever seen in all of animation, period. Yeah. It was absolutely freaking gorgeous. And that's one of my favorite freaking arcs in Courage the Cowardly Dog. Courage moves better than a majority of anime. Adventure Time, regular show, all of that stuff, Foster's, all Billy and Mandy, all of that stuff, the way that they move, you can argue all you want, but that's not what we're talking. The way that they move is just better than Japanese animation, and there's no changing that.
But I'd make the argument back in the day. I generally like anime how they moved. Like if I'm watching Bubblegum Crisis, Dirty Pair, something like that, I love how they moved back in the day for the most part. Because a lot of that stuff was more hand drawn. I thought they paid more attention to it. Even like Ghibli movies too. Like even when Ghibli movies when they get emotional, even like their hairs will start to stand up. Like I like how they move in a lot of those. But I find that that's become the part that's not that as important now because everyone just wants to kind of like fight fast or animate something crazy with crazy angles and speed, but it's like I don't even know what's going on. Like,
because nothing's going on.
Yeah, you've just turned the character model into a blob now, and they're just they're just hitting each other with no real impact. I don't know.
Yeah, so like for example, if y'all remember the Kill Annie anime, yeah, it came out a couple years ago. It's like almost a full decade ago now. Beyond the Boundary. Yes. Anime about the girl with the fucking glasses and she fight with her blood.
I do remember. Yeah, I do remember that.
It was I remember back in the day, back when Crunchyroll forums still existed, there was a big freaking discussion about the animation of one of the fight scenes. Why? Because it was fucking awful. When she was fighting, her bones was literally broken. And this is what we're talking about when we say that all anime does is make shit go by really, 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 really fucking fast to make it seem like it's cool. Mm-hmm. But people was taking screenshots and posting it. Her arms, like her bones was literally moving in ways that your bone is not supposed to move. Her arms was literally broken when she was swinging that freaking scissor sword. It was absolutely horrendous. And that's what a lot of freaking anime. They just make things go by really, really fast. If they don't flat out turn the characters into literal lines of light and just two lines of blobs clashing into each other, if they're still actually models, slow it down or just even pause it. You can pause it whenever. Just pause it during the fight. And I guarantee you will almost always see something ridiculous. Something that just does not look right. Something that
I kind of don't like just pausing in between key frames like that sometimes. But the one thing that she mentioned that I think is important though about that is this, because my friend pointed this out to me because he's a movie guy, right? So like, he showed me the difference between a fight scene that like, yes, it just looks cool really, really fast, but if you break it down, like this guy, he swung the sword at the sword. Like he's not actually swinging at open parts of the body where then the other person has to defend himself. They're just clunking metal together, right? Now, what I noticed with a lot of these series is I wish I could find a Reddit. Maybe if I find it, I'll put a link there. But they were breaking down a choreography from an anime that I've seen it. Everyone loved in Fate, one of the Fate movies, from Heaven's Feel to this one thing from this thing. And when they were showing this, that every strike in the Chinese one that the guy was actually aiming, there were death blows to the kidney, to the neck, to the whatever. and the guy's actually moving and dodging the block as opposed to just like a flurry of hands hitting one another. And I think that that attention to detail becomes more important the older that I'm getting and whatnot. I don't just like seeing things devolve into like I don't know what's happening. But it's just you like you know. And I could go back as far as Dragon Ball. When the character will start moving so fast, you can just see the impact and not see them. I never like that shit. I don't care that they're moving so fast that they can't see it. I want to see, bitch. Slow that shit down so I can see. You know, like Piccolo's like just moving his head and like, oh, I can't believe Piccolo's keeping up with it. And like all you're seeing is boom, boom. Like, bro, that's
Yeah, you
nuts.
see that?
That's just whack. Show me the punch.
No, yeah, that shit was fire when I was like 5. Not fire now. Not fire now.
Yeah, but I never liked it even back in the day. But I don't know, dude. It's just I want to give I just want to give like China their flowers on the fact that I think that all the things that I've watched there since last September have been really good. From from 100,000 Bad Jokes, Big Fish and Begonia, Scissor 7, Nezha, Legend of Xiaohei, Wind Guardians, White Snake, Fog Killer 5 Emblems, all that stuff. I've honestly been having such a blast, and I'm getting to the point too where I'm starting to see a lot of the cultural similarities, where it's like certain things in Japan, like something as simple as Amaterasu, you see it in Naruto, and that might just the first time you hear it just be a random Japanese word to you, but then you play Okami. Oh, Amaterasu is this dog's name? That's interesting. And then you watch something else and like, oh, then you learn, oh, this is like the three regalias of Japan or whatever. Like there's actual, like I'm starting to see that pattern in a lot of these Chinese stuff where like certain names and deities and stuff that are part of folklore, I'm seeing it bullied into multiple series. Like, oh, I know where that's from. I know why the character has that weapon. I know what that is. And that's been fun because I haven't been able to do that in a while.
I saw people, and once again, a ridiculously flimsy blue truth. People who saying like why they can't read manual or whatnot, and this would probably go into dinghies too if you try to put them on. I remember seeing someone say he can't read manual because it feels too foreign to him. I'm like, bro, hold on a minute. You know you're American, right?
Nope.
Yeah, you know when you watch anime for the first time, that was foreign to you, right?
Nope.
Like, like, bro, it's so obnoxious when it's just clear as day excuses. Mm-hmm. It's like if you had to do this with anime once upon a time, why can't you do it with something else? And again, as I said, the only thing that really is just the whole art style thing, the whole anime art style. That's all it is to it. At least in my opinion, anyway. That's what they like a lot. The second anything deviates from that, they don't want to look at it.
Yep.
But
I do want to say this really quickly. The very last topic that's on here, we're gonna save. I just thought something really cool, and we're gonna save it for another episode. We're gonna save it. I'm deleting that very last one, but we'll talk about everything else. Sorry, I just wanted to put that out there. But I feel like this is a good segue into the fan base stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like basically toxic fans, those essay merchants, people who skip parts, people who retain no information, just skim. I just kind of just talk about like the question that someone kind of asked me is like, do I think that a fan base or fans could kind of ruin a series or at least ruin your enjoyment? There's nothing they can do to ruin the quality of the series because that is what it is. But could it kind of affect a person's enjoyment? And all kinds of like weird fans like whether they think they're toxic, they overanalyze, underanalyze, whatever. Like let's kind of get into it.
Absolutely, 101%. Fans can ruin a series, point blank. Period. I don't want anybody to try to tell you otherwise. Mm-hmm. Fans can ruin a series, 101%, and I've been experiencing that as long as I can remember. I remember once upon a time, and even to this day, I still don't like this series, and I just don't like it because I don't think it's that raw as everybody says it is. But I remember when Full Metal Alchemist first came out over here in the West. That shit was aired on Adult Swim. The insane popularity of it, man. You got the freaking Fujo shits, stand-in Edward and whatnot. It make him a fucking husband doing shit. You have the folk talking about how intelligent the series was. Praising it as one of the greatest anime to ever exist. And I'm like, bro, I can't. I avoided it as a kid, and I avoided it well into my teens until I was finally forced to watch Brotherhood from beginning to end, and I still didn't like it. But that's a conversation for a different day. Can fan base ruin series? Absolutely, and they can ruin it in a plethora of different ways, from your enjoyment to flat out you not wanting to be associated with them. There are numerous ways for them to ruin a series.
Yeah, I agree. Because even for Tower of God, for Tower of God, like dudes was really acting like I was talking crazy, like I was just talking complete and utter nonsense, just because they refused to want to acknowledge simple, basic thing. And I felt even more like validated as I started like just watching like YouTube videos, not even YouTube videos of Tower of God, just like people who discuss like novels and books and stuff like that. I listen to them discuss things, and then I look at people on any Twitter and stuff like that discuss things, and I'd be like, yeah, no, I get it now. Yeah, I'd be like, no, something is wrong with all of them. They just fake. They just use keywords. They just use buzzwords and stuff like that. They don't actually care. They don't acknowledge when things go wrong. They don't actually want to critique. So because the people who call themselves critics, something wrong with them, and then the other people don't want to acknowledge stuff, period. So it's just like, yeah, it's a weird realm to be in sometimes. They most definitely can, hinder your joy. Even like Berserk. I love Berserk. I don't talk about Berserk that much. I love Berserk. And all they do is make rape jokes for the people who quote unquote call themselves fan. And all the people who don't like it do is just bring it up 24/7. And that's why one time I just had to tell him, I was just like, oh, brother, give it a fucking break. All y'all fucking do is just make Berserk jokes, the same one. I'm like, this series been going on for like 30 years, and y'all been making the same joke for like 25.
Donovan joke, right?
Yeah, it's like, good fucking lord. Like, give it a break. I just wish y'all didn't read the series, period. Like, give it a break.
I just wish people were normal, I guess. That's all I got to say. I just wish they weren't freaks. Like, I understand, man. Like, one thing I always say is I'm not gonna pretend that there wasn't a time that I wasn't like an obnoxious One Piece fan and just hating on shit to piss people off. Like, I've been there. I had my phase. It didn't last that long. I grew out of it, but like, and I didn't go, and I was never that weird. But the thing about it is, with me, is like, okay, here's my thing. Like, essay merchants or whatever, like, it is kind of obnoxious when like samurai glass. Oh, Jesus Christ, what was it called?
Samurai 8?
Yeah, Samurai 8 came out.
Samurai
glass.
You really slandered it.
And it came out, and there's one chapter, and I am seeing these incredible think pieces about how he's already transcended. Kishimoto has done this and blah blah. And I'm like, there's been one chapter.
Right, facts. Yeah, what are y'all doing? What are y'all talking about?
Fucking kidding me. Can you calm it down? And the reason why this makes me laugh at like two times as much sometimes is when I hear of it from the author's mouth themselves, and then they say something like, okay, Neon Genesis Evangelion, I can't remember what people were trying to analyze the name, and then like one day the guy was like, I just thought this shit sounded cool, and went back to his hole. So all these think pieces and deep dives into the goddamn depths of the ocean for no reason. Sometimes it just is what it is. It can be that simple. There's no it's redefining the genre. It's like, relax over there. Like, you like it. You like the first chapter. You can literally tweet, solid first chapter. I liked it. And move on. Do you not see me do that with Juju Badudu Bada Beat? I was like, hey, episode 1 was nice. And I moved on with my day. I didn't go, Mappa Studio has clearly understand the nuances by Gigi blah blah blah. Therefore, the adaptation of this clearly supersedes anything out of them. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Go outside. Get a life. Do something. Like, you can't care about this stuff that much all the time, every second of the day. There's just no possible way. You need to do something else, bro. It's not healthy. It's just not. I'm starting to get concerned a little bit. Not to genuinely start to get a little bit concerned with this. But I'll say this. For me, when I get into like, I'm at the point in my life now, I'm 27, so I'm a dinosaur. And this stuff, I'm a nerd, bro. I always will be, always have been. my whole life. I'm gonna love my comics. I'm gonna love my fiction. I'm gonna love my games, this and that and the other. But it's at the point where it's in my proper place in life. I got bills to pay. I got shit to do. I got responsibilities. But when I get my free time and the hobby time, I'm in there. But I just don't feel as strongly about everything as much as I used to, where it's like, I could talk to somebody, we're talking about One Piece, Doflamingo versus Crocodile, and you could really strongly believe Crocodile has no chance of defeating this guy. And I feel the opposite way, but not so strongly that I'm going to talk about this for 30 hours. I'm just going to hit you with that, you disagree, it's all right. You got it.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? Why can't you guys just do that sometimes? Like, bro, we may not value the same thing. You might like LeBron because he's a passer. Well, I don't fucking want that. Shoot the fucking rock like Jordan. That's what I value. I don't care about the teams. Win the game. That's just me, though. You might have something else you value. You might think characters in platinum are most important in Ling, and I'm like, is this shit fun? Is it enjoyable? Like, am I having a good time? Like that could come later if we're talking about it, but like surface level, is Nia Hemmings having a good time? No, don't care how complex and the writing is objectively this and that. Like, I'm not interested in all that. I'm having a good time.
For me, I don't necessarily feel like I'm somebody hard because I enjoy like a lot of fucking what we call it funny because it's like it's not really mid. It's just like I just think the term is funny. It's like we call stuff like enjoyable mid and shit like that. It just basically means that like it has a base level and not really gonna get past that, and I'm perfectly okay with that. My problem is, for the most part, or problems I've had with disgusting things, is if you say something that feels out of place, feels weird, or just really controversial, and I ask you why, and you go straight to insulting me or something, I have a problem. Yep. Because if I ask you, okay, why do you think that? I'm not coming at you sideways. I'm like, okay, why do you think that? Like, what made you come in this? What were you expecting? And they'd be like, fuck you or something. That's when I have a problem. And that's what they tend to do. They think it's like above them that they should be qualified to answer a question. I'm like, I don't even necessarily care about the answer sometimes. I want to ask you, why do you feel that way? I don't need for you to be like this big whopping thing. Sometimes people just tell me just like, just personal feeling, personal spirit. I'm like, you know what? I'm completely fine with that.
But that bleeds into something that me and Simmy were talking about. But before we even decided to kind of make this episode too, right? Where we talk about these guys, one, they don't retain any information. They can read something and retain nothing. You just want to be part of the hype, part of the herd. So it's like Juju Badudu, and then they're just gonna say that what's the one scene with the fingers crossed and post that panel with the whatever thing. Like they're gonna post all the generic stuff and like they're not gonna say anything different or nuanced, right? But in addition to that, I don't think these people really have any real opinions about the stuff. They're just trying to fit in. They have nothing to say. So when you're like, why do you feel this way? It's because they don't really feel that way. They're probably just siding with a certain type of a part of the fandom. Like, oh, this character is the goal. And maybe you want to be contrarian, so you think this way. And it's like, bro, you don't have to live like this. I don't know how to put this on word because like I don't even engage with it anymore. I just see it and keep scrolling, and I don't be arguing or talking about the stuff like that. But I just want better from some of my friends. I really do.
Yeah, man. Like, bro, fan bases can absolutely 100% ruin series from overhyping something to you or underhyping something to you to being toxic and attacking everybody who has something different to say about it to essay merchants and always talking about the nuances and the paneling and this, that, and the third and all that garbage that they don't really understand and whatnot.
Fake world building, like, come on, dog.
No, that was one of the funniest shit I ever heard in my life.
But they questioned me of all people. Like I didn't actually study this shit.
And it's like I really feel like it has something to do with age too, but that's a conversation for a different day. But basically, the short of it, I really believe how somebody talks or stands a series says a lot about their age, their mentality, and whatnot, right? Because when I first got on the internet, right, and I was exposed to a bunch of different opinions at once of my favorite things, I did feel that need to defend, argue, and curse out people for my favorite series and whatnot. But as I've grown older and as I've been on the internet longer and longer, I don't remotely feel that need at all. Mm-hmm. It also goes in, and for those, the peak fiction people, right? When you first get into something, you feel the need to experience the best of the best and whatnot, right? But when you've been a fan of something for so long, you don't always need that best of the best. You could get that 7, that 7.5, that 6, that 6.5, and be perfectly fine, right? So I really feel like the way people talk and act about these things says more so about their age and mentality than anything else. But fan bases are wild. So, like, for example, two things. Fate Stay Night is my favorite visual novel of all time. People who know me know that. People who don't know me, now you know, right? I have played, I I played that game somewhere between the years of like '07, '08. I was in 7th grade, right? It's been over a decade since. This series has been with me literally half of my life. What more do I have to say about it? You know, I did my standing. I did my part. I waved the Titan Moon flag as hard as I could back in my younger days, right? Am I expected to do that still now, over 10 years later since I first experienced this series? You know, like, I'm not going to get on the timeline and start writing freaking paragraphs and essays and think pieces about this game. I played it already, and it's been years since. It's an old ass game. The series is completed. You know, what more is there for me to say? There's a time.
What the fuck fake go, bro?
There's a, oh my goodness, there's a time and place for everything, you know. And I don't think, even if you feel strongly about something, I don't think you always have to drop that essay on it. It depends on who you're talking about. So for example, Ubineko is legitimately one of the most recent best things I've ever experienced. All right, I'm not going to go to the timeline and start writing freaking essays every day, start making threads every day. If I'm talking to someone who's played it before, then I can have that very long conversation about it, sure. But I'm not going to start yelling into the void, yelling into the clouds about how great the game is. I liked it a lot. It was good. It was great. I am now a fan of the author. That's all you need to know. If you're interested, ask me about it. That's all there is to it. I don't need to freaking attack people, quote people, change my freaking display and at name to read Umineko, this, that, and the third, right? All that's unnecessary.
When he could be playing Umi, like that's just weird. Stop being weird.
Like, exactly. Like,
for once in your life.
What is the point of replying and especially quote tweeting people that you don't even follow, talking about read this, you trash, that's trash, read this instead? What is the point of doing that? I don't understand it, man. So yeah, fan bases, they could get real rabid and real annoying. And it's to the point where you don't even want to be associated with a series if that's how the fan base is acting. The second you say anything about Hunter x Hunter that isn't praise,
oh my god,
at least one person coming at you out the woodworks. That's not healthy.
It's that fan base is also really crazy. But you said something that I think is important to note. But like, I want to make the kind of distinction clear. A fan or fan base cannot ruin the quality of a series because, like I said, that is what it is. You drew what you drew and you wrote what you wrote, right? How I absorb and enjoy that, especially as part of a collective, it gets ruined because there are a lot of series that I was watching growing up where me and my friends were watching it together as a collective. So after every episode came out, we'd come to school the next day to talk about it. There is joy in that, right? Where you're part of a community where, like, like every week when Toriko was coming out and there was hype in Toriko, right? And I was being a dickhead to my friends about it, but they know me, so I'm like, this shit sucks, right? But I actually know them. They know I'm just fucking around, right? But like that can matter. You don't need that. I don't need it. I don't have it, but that could happen. That could kind of enhance it. Like, part of me always felt like if I didn't read and watch Reborn with the people that I did it with, I won't love it this much. Because if you kind of just ask me like what is Reborn? Maybe it's like a 7.5. Like, nothing crazy. Like, I liked it, but like me and my, like, it was funny because first of all, I tried to read it like 4 times, and then I fell in love with it. I liked the artwork and it got better, and then I was like, I remember when one manga went down and our subsection of the Reborn forum, we made our own Zeta board called Katekyo Hitman Reborn. where we would just talk and theorize and have fun with the series, you know? Even talk about some like gaming and stuff where one guy had like the element of the snow flame, but really it was the mist in the skies. Like, just a good time. And honestly, if I didn't have that, I don't know if I would like Reborn as much as I did. Because, like, again, the series is what it is, but my experience reading it, especially as part of a collective, was great. Now you take something like Monogatari, which is one of my all-time favorite things ever. Favorite light novel series, favorite anime, bar none. I will give Index a close second, but that's a topic for another day. I don't even like being called like a almost like not that's not true, but I don't really like being associated with Monogatari because all the people who are loud about it are fucking strange and weird, and they don't say anything meaningful or anything that I care about the series. Right? It's like kind of like just waifu or like some weird lolly joke or something akin to that or whatever, or Araragi's this. Whereas with me, you know how much I respect Nisio Isin. So the first thing I usually want to talk about when it comes to this is quite literally how he writes dialogue, how he writes characters, how he writes stories, how he's so good at jumping back and forth and making. Because I'm the kind of person where if you give me the end, it's so hard for me to care about what's going to happen because I have the end result. My mind has always worked that way. Hana Monogatari at the time was chronologically the last thing that happens. Araragi graduates. My girl is a third year. Kambaru's a third year. Like showing me that too early could really fuck with me because I'm not that guy. But Jesus Christ, he can fill in the smallest, most meaningless time period in the Gatari series, and I am fully invested because of how he writes it. But when I have to talk about this series out loud, I never get to talk about anything that really I think matters about the series or makes it special or unique. I gotta go like, Hanekawa best girl. It's like, so I just don't even talk about it. I don't speak about Monogatari at all on the timeline. Simmy posted so many pictures and stuff, and I'm like, man, I love to see it, but like, I ain't about to talk about this though. I'm gonna just stay chilling out, but man.
Yeah, it's like it goes to show literally with all three of us. So this topic, do fan bases ruin the series? Absolutely. Me, Face Ain't Night is my favorite visual novel of all time. Will you see me talk about it? No. Hemmings. Monogatari is his favorite light novel and anime of all time. Do you see him talking about it? No. Vince, Berserk is one of, if not his favorite manga of all time. Do you see him talking about it? No. Why? Because the fan bases for this series are absolutely horrendous. Yep. And not only that, because they're horrendous, they turn off people who aren't a part of the fan base. So if you sit here, if Hemmings is sit here and say, I'm a Monogatari fan, someone will quote to them and say, "This your MC?" or some shit like that. Talk about, oh, he's a pedo or something like that for liking this series, X, Y, and Z. And it's like, we don't want to put up with that. That's awful.
I don't even look at things through a lens like that because I'm not thinking like that. Because I'm not a guy who's like was a part of that type of pop culture subset of fandoms. Anyways, like anytime I see somebody with a name like that, I'm just out of there. You know, like Shota Dominator. Just get me the fuck out of there. I don't. You might possibly be the most regular person ever, but I'm not even chancing it. Just get out. Just get the fuck out of there. I'm out. You know, like I'm not even gonna play around with that. But like I'll kind of leave it at this and not keep it moving. But like now with One Piece, One Piece has always been difficult for me because I feel like since Dressrosa, I've really started seeing more fans and more fans being exposed to me, and I hate it. And I think part of it became, I think at one point on Twitter I was like a Twitter guy who was known for One Piece. So like anytime I say something or talk about it, they want to know how I feel or think or this and that and the other. But it's like, y'all just awful. Like, if I did not read or watch One Piece and I saw how y'all acted, I probably wouldn't get into it. There's a part of me that might just do it on my own and not say anything because I do that a lot. There's a lot of series that people don't even know that are currently going, that are like popular, that a lot of people like, that I've actually caught up in and I like, and I refuse to let anyone know that I fucking read it or watch it. I don't want to talk about it. I'll enjoy it on my own and decide. I'm just not doing it because y'all from freaks and twerps. But like, I will say the thing that One Piece, aside from like the weird obsession with power scaling and combat in the series where they don't fucking fight, One Piece fans do this thing with me I think is very weird. They'll say something I agree with, but all their reasoning for it is fucking ridiculously stupid in my opinion. So like, you could be like, I think this character is this. And then when they, like a math teacher show me the math, you got the right answer, but you look at the work and you're like, wait, how did you even come to this conclusion with this fucking terrible ass math, right? That's kind of been my problem with the community. People will say something, and I'll be like, okay, I actually agree with the outcome, but like, what kind of thought process with that? So
Yep.
So that's kind of been my problem with One Piece fans in general. I know they're obnoxious and loud, and they're saying all kinds of things like, this too. And I will never ever subscribe to this theory and idea as long as I live. But there seems to be this weird thing amongst a lot of popular series where fans of it or stands of it disrespect the beginning part. So you'll find JoJo fans who'll just be like, no, start at part 3 or something, or like, no, part 1 sucks. Alright, I can't tell you how to enjoy something, but I always felt like we could always admit part 1 was vital.
It's crazy you say that. Yeah. Because I literally just watched the beginning of One Piece. Like, I literally watched like the beginning all the way to Arlong with my girlfriend, and I kept asking myself, how did people think this was bad? If you thought this was bad, how did you get through 900 chapters?
That's what I'm
like.
saying.
How? Like, I was like, the beginning is really fun. Like, it's so much fun.
I had a lot of people when I was getting back into Kingdom, right? They were like, "Oh, wait till the Coalition arc," and I was like, "But the first arc is good. I like the first arc." Like, I'm not reading something like that. There's nothing you can get me to do to be like, okay, when you get to chapter 628, page 4, and panel 5 of Hajime no Ippo, then you can give me your opinion of whether it's good or not. Are you good?
Yeah, they think
from chapter 1. JoJo is fire from chapter 1. Tower of God is fire from chapter 1. 1 Ounce is fire from chapter 1. Kinnikuman is fire from chapter 1. I do not subscribe to this idea of waiting until point A, point B, part of the series, and then
they think the peak of the manga or whatever they're dealing with means that's when it start getting good. I'm like, no, that's not. I said all the things leading up to it makes it good.
Yeah.
It didn't. You can't just write an arc for the most part with nothing in it and then be like, oh, like it was good. I said all those things that happened in the past, all the things that built those characters up, all help make the culmination of the arc. You can't just look at these things as standalone for the most part. There's a reason that you see that as the peak. It's because you went through the journey with the character, and most of the time that's 100-200 chapters in. So you had all this build up for his character. You had years of investment in this series, and then you got to this part. It didn't just come out of thin air. He built up to this. So that's why I don't get it.
I'll just add this really last thing. I feel like with me too, a lot of times when you say something, what you actually do to me is you simply expose what you actually do. Like this. If you just throw out randomly, Pau Gasol deserved Finals MVP because Kobe shot 6 of 24, you didn't watch the game. I don't have to engage with you. I know you didn't watch the game.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times when it comes to these takes, I can just be like, oh, like you just don't understand what's going on. So I don't even have to actually engage. You actually expose your ineptitude with some of these takes. So I would be careful because a lot of the times you're just showing me how much of a moron you really are. So, tweet carefully. I see everything. I don't be saying nothing, but I'll be watching.
Yeah.
I feel that.
All right. I want to talk about Eastern culture and high fantasy.
Yep. So here we go. The topic of the day.
Yeah. And then honestly, we'll call it a day with that one because it's been running for a while. We'll save the other two. For another time. So let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's get into it.
I'll go first since again.
Them niggas can't write, but go ahead.
They can. They absolutely can. I'll go first, and because I have a lot to say. We already went a long time, and I'm trying to do something else. So I'll probably freaking bounce like the second we freaking cut this episode off.
Yeah.
So basically, my theory of why they can't write high fantasy is because their culture or their past didn't have no shit like that. And now, of course, you're gonna be saying, "Now, Simmy, what are you talking about? High fantasy is not reality." And I'm like, naturally, right? But when you look at series popular high fantasy series, right? They come from where? The West. They're written in freaking. Written in Europe, written in fucking near the Middle East, fucking written in America, that and so forth, right? And when you look at European history, right, they had a Middle Ages period. They had a period with lords and knights and stuff like that, right? They had a period with and castles and carriages and royalty like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
High fantasy comes from all those aspects. Now, what I'm talking about is, The Witcher, right? The Witcher is literally based off of Polish history. The conflict between humans and non-humans, and the extreme amount of prejudice and racism, speciesism that those two face in that series directly comes from Polish history. That's where that comes from.
Yeah.
Right? In Japan, they didn't have none of that. Their history, that Edo period, Meiji period, all that, all the period where all them samurais come from, that's their history. So when you see mangaka or light novelists or even authors write stuff about that stuff hits. But when they try to write high fantasy stuff, that's really foreign to them, because they didn't do none of that. None of their history was like any of that. All the themes, settings and storylines that you see in high fantasy is more or less based off of the history that the author came from, right? Where he was born. In Japan, their history is very different from that. And this goes back to what I was saying about the whole mafia thing. Since they didn't have the mafia and whatnot, they have the Yakuza, and Yakuza is organized crime too, but the way the Yakuza work is different. Since it's literal family stuff, and not, you came into this gang, so now you're considered family. No, they're more so like literal family. It's different. Japanese culture, with the whole warring time period and whatnot, right? With their arrows and their quote unquote ninjas, aka espionage and samurais and stuff. That's what they had, with their honor and stuff like that, right? High fantasy, that's completely foreign to them. So I think that's the real reason why they can't write that stuff. Because they just don't understand it. Then their history doesn't come from that. And you could tell looking at the majority of series that's supposed to be high fantasy or have high fantasy settings, because it's all the same exact bullshit. The same exact bullshit across the board. Light novels, manga, anime. And it gets really, really, really tiring. Like the same bullshit ass capital city with some stupid ass name, and the freaking the royal crown he daughter that's either A, super infatuated with her status, or B, some type of tomboy who's trying to run away from it. Right? She got some stupid ass name. And, you got the clueless ass MC that either A, came from nothing, rags to riches if you will, or B, was a part of royalty, or at least has some type of ties to it, but they whatever to it, right? And it's all the same shticks across the board. And it gets to a point where it's like, bro, my brain is oozing out of my pores seeing y'all write the same stuff over and over again. And it's just so boring and repetitive and uninspired. It's like, y'all could at least try at least try to do something different, because it's really bad. I think what they strive with is things like dark fantasy, urban fantasy, things like that, right? Now, the urban fantasy is a subgenre of fantasy where there are fantasy aspects, but in an urban setting, right? So, like, for example,
this real quick, I think they also do their interesting retellings of their own history really well.
Yeah, exactly, and that goes into what I was saying.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, like The Witcher, right? So, freaking Persona's urban fantasy, Fate Stay Night is urban fantasy, Bleach is a urban fantasy, Berserk is a dark fantasy, right? and all those things with demons and hell and spirit and stuff like that. They can relate to, because again, the religion that they had in their past was Shintoism, where they believed that spirits could reside in objects and things like that, right?
Mhm.
So they write those things better. But since they didn't have like a medieval time, I mean, well, you could classify medieval as just like their darkest hour or their low point or whatever. But since they didn't have a history like European countries did with like chivalry, well, their chivalry is different,
Mhm.
right? So because they didn't have that, when they try to write stories that revolve around that, they struggle a lot, and it shows a lot, really bad in all medium, not even just anime, freaking movies, video games, manga, all of that, light novels, all of that. It's all the same shtick. So I feel like because their history was different, they have a hard time writing stories like that.
I feel that's I never approached it from that aspect. That's actually interesting. I never thought about it that way. Vince, you got anything to add? Say anything about that?
I mean, he mostly said, because we discussed it already, so he already had all the points pretty much lined up. But yeah, and my thing is though too is that I've said this about other genres too. They have a very bad habit of just copying each other, of doing a lot of the same things, and also sometimes I feel like, and this is for other genres too, they get too stickled on shock factor writing occasionally, which is, I hate when people try to say that in Berserk. I mean, some of it is shock factor, but everything in Berserk has a purpose. So I hate when people try to make that argument about that. But they do get too stuck on some of that stuff. They get too caught up with the traditional aspects about certain things, or try to go too dark. And like, you don't have to do neither one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can write a high fantasy that, like Simmy said, don't have this big ass capital, don't do all this. You can write it from a completely different perspective. Like, they don't do it like, they always bring elves and stuff into it, but they don't never really do anything with them. They don't ever make them feel like important characters. They don't really dive really deep into the lore. They always do surface level things with it. They don't really go any deeper than that. I just have a bunch of problems with the way they just do medieval fantasy, high fantasy, dark fantasy in general. It feels like a lot of just like, we're just gonna do surface level and we're not gonna do anything more than that. Like, you can go so much deeper. You could do so much with it, and you don't have to make it dark. Like, you don't have to have none of the sexual assault and rape and stuff to make it good. Like, you don't have to do any of that. Like,
I never understood a lot of storytellers' fascination with that. I don't. Of course, this bitch ass phone ring.
it's all good. But yeah, I don't really understand their fascination with that stuff either. Like I said, I'm somebody who can read some of that stuff and not even necessarily like mind it. I'm someone who reads certain things and I just be like, I just get past it. Like, I saw people just like, that's completely in bad taste, and it's just like makes them like incapable of reading it, and I get that too. But most time I just be like, okay, whatever. Like, I just move past it. Like, if we have a discussion about it, I can tell you like that was in bad taste to it. But most time I'm just like, whatever. I just keep going. But like, they just refusal in fantasy to like even try to attempt to do other things. Like, I don't get it. I really don't understand. They're just so stuck on this. Like, gotta bring in this human from another world. He gotta be from Earth.
Hey, man,
It is high fantasy.
The yen is talking.
From the high,
the other currency. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not cultured, but the other currencies are.
Got you. But it's just like, I don't understand, why do they feel the need that stuff gotta happen? I don't get it.
I think I just wish people didn't fall for it. I think that's my problem. I don't. I think Simmy was so somewhere. There's truth to a lot of things you guys were saying about like the whole like, because I find that like, I don't even know if I'd call it high fantasy, but a lot of the ones where like there's more of a fantastical nature to it, but it takes place in like the Edo period or like certain periods in China and whatnot. I think they're not bad. But when you try to do like the chivalrous knights, and then now they're wearing like more traditional European armor with European swords and stuff, and now you have elves and things that don't really originate from Japan and stuff. I'm like, you guys just start doing nonsense, and I can't begin to like, it's getting ridiculous for me, because it's like, I can hear an entire sentence and go, you didn't say anything to me. Like,
Yep.
like when the land of Etheria was made and the flora came down from their imperial heavenly god. Like, what the hell did you just say to me? You just threw out a bunch of stupid high fantasy like names and terms and thought that you were tricking me into thinking there was a real lore and story here. No, I don't care. That does not work. In Liyue and Mondstadt, the three Geo Archons that use the primordial. Like, bro, what? Stop that! You're not saying anything. I actually understand the English language very well. I can actually know suffixes and prefixes in terms, and I can even go to Latin sometimes. Like, bro, these words that you're putting in succession are not making any type of real sense. Stop it.
Yeah, so it's like when they write shit that's like feudal era, so they write shit that's about samurai, that's about ninjas, and that's about spirits
Yeah.
and demons.
Yokai or whatever.
They get that pretty well because that comes from their culture,
But it's usually
right?
darker than it is.
Yeah, that's what I said. Freaking, they hit the nail on the dark fantasy thing. But the high fantasy thing, because that didn't originate there, that's not a part of their history. That's more European history. They have a real time struggling with it, and it's obvious that they don't understand it like that.
But
Because, like,
but I think what they do works on a lot of people. Cause like I know some people with Genshin Impact that are fascinated with like the land and history, and I'm like, bro, all this stuff is boring as hell. I don't care about it. Some
I
people
think that might go into. I think that might go more into weebism
man.
than freaking.
See, but I'm a lore guy. I'm a lore guy. See, that's why fantasy is my favorite genre because I just love and that is why I'm having the time of my life in Higurashi right now. Because not only is it written well, the way he was just capable. But like I said, it's about stuff he knows about. It's based off of whatever Japanese history. I don't know what time period. I don't know what exact, but I know he's pulling stuff from real life because most of the time that's what they always do. But
Well, yeah, it's the game takes place during the Showa era, right? So the game takes place in 1983. That's the Showa era in Japan. To cut you off for a second, Vince. And there's a lot of Shintoism in the game and whatnot. You know, the whole curse of Oyashiro-sama, and the origins of Hinamizawa, how they used to be called Onigafuchi Village, and how they thought, you know, how the villagers, they thought that there was ancestors of demons and whatnot, right? How there's a bottomless swamp in the village, and they believe that demons came out of that swamp, right? All of that is Japanese culture. Point
yeah,
blank,
and he
period.
does amazing. He got this nice, fantastic lore in this small village. It's not even like a big, and that's what kills me. It's like they build. If you're gonna, even when you do, like they act like just because you bring a person from another world, especially in isekai, because it's just like I don't know why they restrict themselves so much in isekai, and that's what makes me the angriest about it. I don't care if they use tropes and they use the same type of things, but my thing is, even if you use those things, there is so much more you could do with them with just good writing. Yeah,
you could play around with it. Like there's a way to use, but and without just doing it for shock or like as a means to an end. By the way, not just I don't.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Just for no reason. Yeah.
No one expects just because shock. Like it's stupid. Don't do that. Stop that.
Yeah, there's literally so much you could do with all this stuff, and they just refuse to do those things. They're just like, we're just gonna do the basic, bare minimum, or we're just gonna turn this into a comedy series. And I'm like, don't you think you have enough of those? Like, shouldn't you use it, especially if you're gonna do an isekai anyway? Because you kind of already know what the base of an isekai is. If I was writing one, and I know it's just like, okay, you know, like everybody kind of eats up an isekai, yada yada yada. So that's why I'm starting with this. I would use it as a practice ground to see what and can I do and what I can't do.
What if you find
How good can I write? Yeah, I'm like, how good can I write this? What can I do with these characters? Because everybody kind of already knows, so I don't even have to do too much. But I'd be doing my best to try to, like, you know, just do all sorts of different things. Try to write lore, try to write just cool, really cool things, and like I would try to use it to like use different personality archetypes that you wouldn't normally see in these situations. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. They just don't do it, and I don't get it.
The thing is,
I'm just throwing it out there.
the funny thing is with isekai, it's not even a restricted subgenre. it is a very broad genre.
Well, yeah. Well, I think that they restricted themselves. Like it should be way bigger. It should be way.
I'm agreeing with you on. I'm co-signing with you on that. Isekai literally translates to different world. That's it. All in Isekai is having one character go to a different world. That's it. Any of these other tropes they put on themselves. So they gave this subgenre its own stigma for no reason.
Yeah,
and they copy off each other.
Yeah, and like it just the basis of that different world. Why do you have to throw them in this medieval type world? Why is that the only world you can think of? That's so lazy. It don't gotta be medieval. You can literally do anything. You can put them on Mars. You can put them on like you can literally do anything. You could put them if you want to do a different world and you want to pull for some historical thing. Like that's why I like Tanya the Evil so much. They literally sent her to World War One. Still different world. Still technically an isekai. Gave it put magic in there. Have her fight with God.
I don't know what to tell you because like the thing the thing that I would say about this is that I don't think this is exclusive to like anime or Japan or whatever. I think
it's not. It's not.
I think every industry is extremely derivative and self-incestuous and can feed off each other. It's like what that one Battle Royale did well. Well, every company for the next 3 years, we're only going to make Battle Royales and try to, like. That.
No, it's not. That's not wrong at all.
I feel you. I just wanted to make that distinction clear because, like, this is how I feel about mega corporations and most things in general. But I agree with you with the isekai thing, where they kind of they weirdly limit themselves when it's like you're taking one character and you're putting them in a completely new world, and it's like you got one gimmick. It's really weird. Like. Why? Yeah. Why couldn't to the point where if you're in an isekai where I'm the main character and I go to a parallel Earth that there's not much different but except certain things, I still think that could work if you can make it interesting. Like why must we go back in time to a high fantasy type setting? I think it's very boring and very samey. But
yeah.
Again, and then
if you want to do something,
the MC archetype is usually the same too. It's just come on.
Right, or why can't you do something with a high fantasy type setting? You could be a high fantasy setting and you could be like, oh, they're just constantly at war the entire time. So instead of him having this goddess and stuff like that, he just a regular nigga and now he part of the war. He gotta work himself up the ranks or some shit like that. There's so much you can do. They just don't do it. You don't need to have none of them elves. You don't need none of that shit. You really could just do it with just between humans. He ends up in a high fantasy type Earth. And they just at war the entire time, and you could just make it a war manga. That you could literally do stuff like that.
Too much fun. They can't do that.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Cut that out. Where's the dialogue?
Yeah, man, it's just super piss poor with the fucking high fantasy in Japan. We kind of getting off on a tangent. It's just like they just really struggle with it. And it's so weird because with other things. They be doing a lot of research on it. I guess it's just specific content creators like your Araki, like your Uchikoshi and whatnot, who do a lot of research. So
they go outside.
Yeah.
They didn't read 80 manga and go I can make a manga based off of 80 manga. No, how about go to the real world and get real life experience and then easy one. I think I said in that video recently. I like when I hear shit oh, I made the character Frieza because I had a shitty landlord, and I think landlords are the worst people on earth. That's how Frieza was actually designed conceptually. He's based off a landlord or something akin to that. Maybe.
And that's hilarious. And that's hilarious.
But to me, things like that translate well to stories because you're basing it off. I remember who was it that said? Was it Rick Remender or was it maybe I'm thinking of Jonathan Hickman, who said that there was an arc that he made created off a one class that he had in high school, and he made a whole arc based off the experience he had in that class. That shit's cool, bro. I like that.
Yeah, facts.
Not I think this concept in Black Clover is cool. Let's see if I could. Since I read a bunch of manga, I now when I draw mine, no, this shit's uninspired, bro. It's whack. But sorry, Sam, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, man, it's just they sometimes do a lot of research on specific things. But a majority of the time, or other things, they just refuse to do any research at all. But again, I guess it's just those specific standout content creators that actually care and whatnot, right? To actually seem like they know what the hell they're talking about. But it's just really bad with high fantasy in Japan. Anime, video games, is all the samey type shit for no reason. And when you look at other high fantasy series, you know, it's not like there's some big complicated grand scheme of things either. Like Game of Thrones isn't that complicated. It's just it's a feud between freaking different families from different regions, right? Yeah, some characters who came
Well,
from
Game of Thrones is literally taking all the expectations that you would normally have and subverted them. It just completely just destroying them.
but on the basic of basic levels.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
Yeah, characters, they're from different families or whatnot, right? And freaking Witcher isn't some big complicated thing. The Witchers are a group of people who, with a very specific type of what's the word I'm looking for? Research, mutate themselves into a different type of being, and they're mercenaries. That's it. That's all they are.
Yeah.
And the freaking adventure that Geralt goes on, you know, that expands and dives into something bigger. But all the Witchers are literally mercenaries. They are mutant mercenaries. That's all they are. But the world is everything about the series, how it's written, the world, the characters, the reason why they do these things is interesting, right? It's not hard, but with Japan, when they try to do it, it just falls flat, and it's so samey. Same freaking airship, same capital city, same grassy field, same royal family, same archetypes, same big titty elves, this, that, and the third. And they're just like, y'all are not even trying.
Yeah, they don't do no different character designs or nothing either. They all kind of look the same too.
Yeah. Just like do better. Do better. I mean, I guess y'all don't have to, because I could just go look at better, but do better.
Yeah, that's the thing with me. Like, I'm at the point where like I know where to find exactly what I need for anything. So it's like, you know, people are like, oh, diversity. It's like, I don't want to do something with diversity. I'll just click Image. Image will give me that. I don't have to look anywhere else. I'm not asking Japan to do it. I asking China to do it. I'll just go look for it. I know where to find anything that I want. But anyways, goodbye.